Picture the desert at twilight, where ancient winds carry whispers across endless dunes. The sun bleeds crimson into the horizon, casting long shadows over ruins that have stood since before memory began. Here, beneath star-drunk skies that have watched civilizations rise and fall like distant candles, lies the cradle of humanity's oldest mystery. In this place where the Tigris and Euphrates once carved life from barren earth, something stirred in the darkness between myth and reality. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, those who came from heaven to earth. Yet what if these beings never truly departed? What if they simply learned to hide in plain sight, walking among us as shadows of their former divine selves? The wind shifts across Mesopotamian sands, revealing fragments of cuneiform tablets buried for millennia. Each symbol etched in clay speaks of gods who descended from the stars, who shaped humanity with their own hands, who ruled with wisdom and terror in equal measure. These are not mere stories carved by primitive minds seeking to explain the unexplainable. These are testimonies written in the world's first written language, describing encounters that may have been far more literal than we dare imagine. Modern archaeologists stand before these ruins with measuring tools and carbon dating equipment, confident in their ability to categorize the past into neat timelines and rational explanations. They speak of agricultural revolution, of trade routes, of the natural evolution of human civilization. Yet beneath their scientific certainty lies a nagging question that refuses to be silenced. How did humanity leap so suddenly from hunter-gatherers to builders of cities? How did we acquire the knowledge of metallurgy, astronomy, and mathematics seemingly overnight? The stars wheel overhead, the same constellations that guided ancient navigators across trackless seas. Among them, astronomers have identified objects they cannot fully explain: rogue planets drifting through the outer reaches of our solar system, their orbits suggesting influences beyond the gravitational pull of known celestial bodies. Could these be the same wandering worlds described in tablets older than the pyramids? In the deepest archives of museums around the world, curators guard artifacts that challenge everything we think we know about human history. Sumerian king lists speak of rulers who reigned for tens of thousands of years. Ancient cylinder seals depict humanoid figures with wings and strange headgear, standing beside craft that hover above the ground. Relief carvings show beings emerging from objects that bear an unsettling resemblance to modern descriptions of unidentified aerial phenomena. The mystery deepens when we consider the sudden appearance of complex knowledge in ancient civilizations. The Sumerians possessed sophisticated understanding of astronomy, including knowledge of planets invisible to the naked eye. They wrote of the precession of equinoxes as celestial cycles spanning 26,000 years with mathematical precision that rivals modern calculations. This was not knowledge acquired through gradual observation, but understanding that appeared fully formed, as if handed down from beings with access to cosmic perspectives far beyond human capability. Yet perhaps the most haunting aspect of the Anunnaki mystery lies not in ancient texts, but in the shadows of our contemporary world. Reports surface with increasing frequency of individuals claiming encounters with beings who possess knowledge of humanity's deepest secrets, who speak of ancient covenants and ongoing experiments. Witnesses describe entities who appear human, but possess an otherness that penetrates to the soul eyes that hold the weight of millennia. Voices that carry harmonics of languages lost before recorded history began. Government agencies collect these reports, filing them away in classified databases that grow thicker each year. Military personnel speak in hushed tones of craft, displaying technology centuries beyond human capability, operated by beings who seem disturbingly familiar with Earth's geography and human behavior. Intelligence analysts study patterns in global events, noting correlations too precise to be coincidental, yet too complex to be the work of any known human organization. The digital age has brought new tools to ancient mysteries. Satellite imagery reveals geometric patterns in desert sands, perfectly aligned with astronomical events. Archaeological sites yield artifacts containing metallurgical compositions that shouldn't exist according to accepted historical timelines. DNA research uncovers anomalies in human genetic code sequences that appear to have been inserted rather than evolved, coding for capabilities that remain dormant in most individuals, but occasionally manifest in ways that defy scientific explanation. Meanwhile, in boardrooms of multinational corporations and the halls of international institutions, decisions are made that affect the course of human civilization. Some researchers propose that these centers of power operate according to agendas that extend far beyond normal human timescales, implementing plans that span generations and seem designed to guide humanity towards specific evolutionary endpoints. The question haunts us: what if the gods never left? What if they simply evolved their methods of influence, trading overt divine rulership for subtle manipulation from the shadows? What if the Anunnaki learned that human civilization flourishes best when it believes itself to be free, while remaining under careful guidance from beings whose perspective encompasses thousands of years of human development? As night falls across the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, the stars emerge in patterns unchanged since the first cuneiform symbols were pressed into wet clay. Somewhere in that vast cosmic darkness, worlds spin in orbits that bring them close to Earth on cycles measured in millennia. And perhaps, in the silence between heartbeats, in the space between thoughts, those who shaped humanity's dawn continue their eternal vigil watching, waiting, guiding us toward a destiny we have yet to comprehend. The shadows of the forgotten gods stretch long across human history, touching every civilization, every leap forward, every moment when humanity has reached beyond its apparent limitations to grasp knowledge that seems to come from nowhere. The question is no longer whether the Anunnaki existed, but whether they ever truly departed, and what their continued presence might mean for the future of the species they claimed to have created in their own image. As the first light of civilization pierced the darkness of prehistory, it illuminated something extraordinary in the Fertile Crescent between two great rivers. The Sumerians emerged from the mists of time, not as primitive tribes gradually developing culture, but as a fully formed civilization possessing knowledge that seems impossible for their era. Picture the ancient city of Eridu, rising from marshlands where the rivers met the sea. According to Sumerian tradition, this was the first city ever built, established not by human hands alone, but under the direct guidance of beings they called the Anunnaki. The name itself carries profound meaning, those who from heaven came to earth, a designation that suggests not metaphor, but literal description of their origins. The earliest tablets speak of a time before time, when the earth was young and humanity existed in a primitive state. Into this world descended the Anunnaki, led by their chief deity Enlil, lord of wind and storm, and his brother Enki, master of wisdom and the flowing waters. These were not distant gods dwelling in ethereal realms, but active participants in earthly affairs, beings who walked among humans, who ruled cities, who intermarried with human royalty and established dynasties that would endure for millennia. Enki, in particular, emerges from these texts as a complex figure whose relationship with humanity transcends simple divine authority. Described as the creator of Homo sapiens, Enki appears in Sumerian mythology as a genetic engineer, mixing his own divine essence with the clay of earth to fashion beings capable of consciousness, speech, and sophisticated thought. The parallels to modern genetic modification are unsettling in their precision. These ancient texts speak of careful selection of traits, of multiple attempts to achieve the desired result, of beings created to serve specific purposes in a grand design. The Sumerian accounts describe a pantheon of Anunnaki numbering in the hundreds, each assigned specific roles in the administration of earthly affairs. Unlike the remote deities of later religions, these beings possessed individual personalities, engaged in political intrigue, formed alliances and rivalries, and demonstrated very human emotions, despite their supposedly divine nature. They required food, shelter, and rest. They could be wounded and even killed. Most significantly, they could reproduce with humans, creating hybrid offspring who possessed capabilities beyond normal human limits. Archaeological evidence from Sumerian sites reveals technological sophistication that challenges conventional timelines of human development. The city of Ur contained drainage systems, mathematical instruments, and metallurgical facilities that demonstrate advanced engineering principles. Sumerian astronomers tracked celestial movements with precision that required centuries of careful observation, yet their first astronomical texts appear fully developed, suggesting knowledge inherited from an earlier source. The Sumerian language itself presents anomalies that linguists struggle to explain. Unlike Indo-European or Semitic language families, Sumerian appears to have no clear linguistic ancestors. It emerged fully formed, complete with sophisticated grammar and an extensive vocabulary for concepts that primitive societies should not have possessed. Technical terms for astronomical phenomena, metallurgy, mathematics, and complex social organization. Most intriguing are the Sumerian creation myths, which describe not a single act of divine will, but a deliberate project undertaken by the Anunnaki Council. According to these accounts, the creation of humanity served practical purposes. The Anunnaki required workers to extract precious metals from the earth, particularly gold, which they needed for purposes the texts suggest were more technological than ornamental. This mining operation was initially performed by the Anunnaki themselves, but proved so laborious that they decided to create a worker species specifically designed for the task. The process of human creation, as described in tablets like the Atrahasis epic, involved careful genetic manipulation. Enki and his sister Ninmah experimented with different combinations of divine and earthly elements, creating several proto-human variants before achieving the desired result. The texts describe failed experiments, beings too weak, too intelligent, or possessed of capabilities that made them unsuitable for their intended purpose. The successful model combined sufficient intelligence to follow complex instructions with a lifespan limited enough to prevent rebellion against their creators. This relationship between Anunnaki and early humanity was not one of worshipful distance, but intimate involvement in daily affairs. The gods established cities, appointed human rulers who served as intermediaries, and maintained palaces where they resided during their earthly sojourns. They established legal codes, religious practices, and social hierarchies that would form the foundation of all subsequent civilizations. Yet the texts also hint at growing tension between Anunnaki factions regarding humanity's role and future development. Enlil, the chief administrator, favored strict control and limited human advancement. Enki, humanity's creator, developed what could only be described as parental affection for his genetic children, secretly providing them with knowledge and protection against Enlil's more harsh policies. This conflict between the brothers would play out across centuries, influencing human development through cycles of advancement and catastrophe. The Sumerian flood narrative, predating the biblical account by over a millennium, describes Enlil's attempt to eliminate humanity through a great deluge, seeing them as having become too numerous and noisy. Enki's intervention, warning his loyal servant Utnapishtim to build a great vessel and preserve human civilization, represents the first recorded example of Anunnaki factional disputes affecting human survival. The flood was not divine wrath against human sin, but a political decision by beings who had grown weary of managing their genetic creation. As Sumerian civilization flourished, the Anunnaki gradually withdrew from direct rule, establishing instead a system of human kingship that they claimed to have lowered from heaven. Kings were no longer gods themselves, but divine representatives ruling by mandate of the Anunnaki Council. This transition marked a crucial shift in the relationship between creators and created humanity was being prepared for a form of independence, though still under careful supervision. The technological knowledge imparted by the Anunnaki during this period established patterns that would echo throughout human history. Sudden advances in metallurgy, architecture, and agriculture appeared without obvious developmental stages. The invention of writing itself humanity's first great leap toward preserving and transmitting knowledge emerged in Sumerian cities with remarkable sophistication, suggesting guidance from beings who understood the importance of recorded information for civilization's advancement. Yet even as the Anunnaki withdrew from daily governance, the Sumerian texts suggest they maintained monitoring stations throughout the region. Temple complexes served not merely as religious centers, but as communication hubs where human priests maintained contact with their divine overseers. The ziggurats themselves, with their precise astronomical alignments and sophisticated acoustic properties, may have functioned as more than symbolic stairways to heaven. They could have been operational facilities for beings whose technology we are only beginning to comprehend. In the deepest shafts of southern Africa, where ancient mining operations carved tunnels through solid rock, modern archaeologists have discovered something that challenges every assumption about prehistoric human capability. Radiocarbon dating places some of these mining sites at over 100,000 years old, far predating any known civilization capable of such sophisticated extraction operations. The tunnels follow precise geometric patterns, engineered to maximize ore retrieval while maintaining structural integrity. Most puzzling of all, these mines were specifically designed to extract gold. The discovery poses a fundamental question. Why would Stone Age peoples undertake the massive labor required to mine gold, a metal with no practical application for primitive survival? The conventional archaeological explanation suggests early humans valued gold for ornamental purposes, but this fails to account for the industrial scale of these operations or the advanced engineering knowledge they required. An alternative theory, drawn from Sumerian texts and gaining credibility among researchers, suggests these mines were established not by humans, but for humans by the Anunnaki. According to translations of cuneiform tablets, particularly those decoded from the Library of Ashurbanipal, gold held significance for the Anunnaki far beyond mere decoration. The metal possessed properties essential to their technology, possibly serving as a conductor in advanced electrical systems or as a component in atmospheric manipulation. The texts describe Nibiru, the Anunnaki homeworld, as suffering from atmospheric degradation that could only be reversed through the dispersal of gold particles in the upper atmosphere, a form of planetary engineering that required massive quantities of the precious metal. Initially, according to these accounts, the Anunnaki themselves performed the mining operations. Lower-ranking members of their society, called the Ijiji, were assigned to extract gold from Earth's crust. However, the physical demands of mining in Earth's gravity and atmospheric conditions proved overwhelming. The Ijiji eventually rebelled, refusing to continue the backbreaking labor required to supply their homeworld's needs. This rebellion created a crisis that would ultimately lead to humanity's creation. Faced with a mining operation essential to their survival, but lacking willing workers, the Anunnaki leadership turned to genetic engineering. Enki, whose expertise lay in biological manipulation, proposed creating a hybrid species that could perform the necessary labor. The source material would be the primitive hominids already present on Earth, creatures possessing sufficient intelligence to be trained, but lacking the awareness to question their purpose. The genetic modification process, as described in texts like the Atrahasis epic, involved combining Anunnaki genetic material with that of existing Earth primates. This was not a simple breeding program, but sophisticated genetic engineering requiring multiple attempts to achieve the desired characteristics. The goal was to create beings intelligent enough to operate mining equipment and follow complex instructions, strong enough to endure the physical demands of deep excavation, but genetically limited to prevent them from developing beyond their intended purpose. Modern genetic research has uncovered anomalies in human DNA that appear to support aspects of this narrative. The human genome contains over 95% junk DNA, genetic material with no apparent function. Some researchers suggest this inactive genetic code represents dormant capabilities, programmed into human genetics, but suppressed to maintain control over the species. Additionally, the human genetic bottleneck evidence that all modern humans descend from a surprisingly small population occurred approximately 70,000 years ago, coinciding with some estimates of when advanced genetic manipulation might have taken place. The most significant genetic anomaly lies in human chromosome 2, which appears to be the result of two separate chromosomes fused together. This fusion is unique among primates and shows evidence of artificial manipulation rather than natural evolution. The telomere's protective DNA sequences typically found at chromosome ends appear in the middle of chromosome 2, exactly where two chromosomes would have joined. This suggests deliberate genetic engineering designed to reduce human chromosome pairs from 48 to 46, possibly to create reproductive barriers between humans and other primates. Archaeological evidence supports the possibility of advanced genetic experimentation in prehistoric times. Elongated skulls found in various global locations show cranial volumes up to 25% larger than modern humans, with structural differences that cannot be explained by artificial deformation alone. These skulls possess additional suture lines, different bone composition, and eye socket proportions that suggest a distinct genetic lineage. Some specimens have been found to contain genetic material that does not match any known human haplogroups. The Sumerian texts describe several attempts to create the perfect human worker, with early experiments producing beings either too intelligent or physically unsuitable for their intended purpose. One account describes creatures so intelligent they began questioning their creator's authority and had to be destroyed. Another describes beings lacking sufficient cognitive ability to understand complex instructions. The successful model modern humans represented a compromise between intelligence and docility, capability and limitation. This genetic engineering was not a one-time event, but an ongoing project spanning thousands of years. Different Anunnaki geneticists created variations suited to specific environmental conditions and tasks. Some variants were designed for mining operations in different climates, others for agricultural work, and still others for construction projects. The diversity of human racial characteristics may reflect different phases of this experimentation, each optimized for particular functions within the Anunnaki's global operations. The texts also describe the creation of hybrid beings who served as intermediaries between the Anunnaki and their human workers. These beings, possessing both human and Anunnaki genetics, could communicate with both species and served as overseers in mining operations. They possessed enhanced intelligence, longer lifespans, and in some cases, abilities that seemed supernatural to fully human observers. These hybrids formed the first royal bloodlines, establishing dynasties that would rule human civilization under Anunnaki guidance. Modern mining operations in areas where ancient extraction sites have been discovered reveal evidence of techniques that should not have been possible with primitive technology. Core samples show that ancient miners could drill perfectly round shafts through the hardest rock, extract ore with surgical precision, and reinforce tunnels with techniques that mirror modern engineering principles. The tools required for such operations would have necessitated advanced metallurgy and precision manufacturing capabilities. Genetic analysis of populations living near ancient mining sites reveals interesting anomalies. These groups often possess genetic markers associated with enhanced physical strength, improved mineral processing in their digestive systems, and resistance to heavy metal toxicity. These traits suggest genetic adaptation to mining environments over many generations, or possibly deliberate genetic modifications designed to optimize human workers for specific environmental challenges. The scale of ancient mining operations becomes clear when satellite surveys reveal the full extent of prehistoric excavation sites. In South Africa alone, over 100,000 ancient mining shafts have been identified, representing the removal of millions of tons of ore. The mathematical precision required to coordinate such operations across vast geographical areas suggests central planning by beings possessing advanced engineering knowledge and global perspective. As the Great Experiment progressed, the relationship between creators and created evolved beyond simple master-worker dynamics. Some Anunnaki developed emotional attachments to their genetic children, while others viewed humans merely as biological tools. This divide would shape human development for millennia, creating cycles of advancement and suppression as different. Anunnaki factions influenced human civilization according to their competing agendas. The legacy of this genetic manipulation extends far beyond ancient mining operations. If the Sumerian accounts are accurate, humanity carries within its DNA the potential for capabilities far beyond current limitations, abilities locked away by genetic switches that could theoretically be activated. The question that haunts modern genetics is whether these dormant capabilities represent evolutionary potential or evidence of deliberate genetic engineering by beings who understood biological systems far better than we do today. In the royal courts of ancient Mesopotamia, where golden light filtered through cedar lattice and incense smoke curled toward painted ceilings, an extraordinary ceremony took place that would echo through millennia. The investiture of a new king was not merely a political transition, but a sacred ritual connecting earthly rule to divine authority. According to Sumerian tradition, kingship itself had been lowered from heaven by the Anunnaki, a gift that transformed selected humans into intermediaries between gods and mortals. The Sumerian king list, one of history's most enigmatic documents, records rulers who reigned for impossibly long periods, some for tens of thousands of years. Orthodox historians dismiss these figures as mythological exaggeration, but a closer examination reveals patterns that suggest something far more significant. The list divides into distinct periods: before the flood, when kings ruled for millennia; after the flood, when reign lengths gradually diminished; and the historical period, when royal lifespans approached normal human duration. This progression suggests a systematic dilution of something, perhaps genetic heritage, from the Anunnaki themselves. The earliest kings may have been direct hybrids, possessing enhanced lifespans and abilities that mark them as distinctly non-human. As generations passed and Anunnaki genetics became diluted through interbreeding with normal humans, the supernatural characteristics of royal bloodlines gradually faded, leaving only carefully maintained genealogies and ritual practices that preserved the memory of divine ancestry. Archaeological evidence supports the existence of rulers who possessed capabilities beyond normal human parameters. Royal tombs from early dynastic periods contain skeletal remains showing unusual cranial capacity, bone density variations, and dental patterns that differ significantly from contemporary populations. Some royal mummies display genetic markers that do not correspond to regional population genetics, suggesting foreign ancestry from sources unknown to conventional anthropology. The concept of divine kingship spread from Mesopotamia to every corner of the ancient world, always carrying similar characteristics. Rulers claiming descent from sky gods, possessing supernatural knowledge, and maintaining connection to celestial influences through elaborate ritual practices. Egyptian pharaohs declared themselves children of Ra. Celtic kings claimed descent from the Tuatha De Danann, and even distant civilizations like the Inca traced their lineage to star beings who descended from the heavens. Yet these were not merely symbolic claims to legitimacy, but carefully documented genealogies preserved in temple archives across multiple cultures. Royal bloodlines maintain detailed genetic records, often accompanied by strict breeding protocols designed to preserve specific hereditary traits. Marriage alliances between royal houses were arranged not for political advantage alone, but to maintain genetic compatibility between bloodlines that trace their origins to common non-human ancestors. The responsibilities of divine kingship extended far beyond conventional governance. Kings served as communication conduits between human populations and their Anunnaki overseers, receiving instructions through dreams, visions, and direct contact during elaborate temple ceremonies. They were responsible for implementing large-scale construction projects, pyramids, ziggurats, megalithic monuments that served purposes beyond human comprehension, but fulfilled specific requirements established by their divine patrons. Sumerian texts describe regular councils between Anunnaki leaders and human kings, meetings where earthly policies were established according to celestial agendas. These were not religious ceremonies, but administrative sessions, where beings with cosmic perspective provided guidance for managing human civilization's development. Kings who failed to implement Anunnaki directives faced removal through natural disasters, military defeats, or mysterious illnesses that struck down entire dynasties. The palace archives of Mari, discovered in the 20th century, contain correspondence that illuminates the practical aspects of divine kingship. Letters between rulers reference messages from the gods with the casual tone of routine administrative communication. Kings consulted divine advisors before military campaigns, construction projects, and even agricultural policies. Most significantly, they reported regularly to higher authorities whose identities and locations were never clearly specified in the preserved documents. Modern genetics has revealed intriguing patterns in the DNA of families claiming descent from ancient royal bloodlines. These genetic signatures often include rare haplogroups found in less than 0.1% of global population, suggesting common ancestry from extremely small founder populations. More puzzling are the presence of genetic markers that appear in royal bloodlines from widely separated geographical regions. European nobility sharing genetic characteristics with Egyptian pharaonic dynasties and Asian imperial families, despite no known historical contact between these civilizations. The regalia and symbols of kingship carry encoded information that may reveal the true nature of divine authority. Crown jewels often incorporate specific geometric patterns, crystalline structures, and metallic compositions that serve no apparent decorative purpose. Some researchers suggest these objects functioned as technological devices, communication equipment, genetic scanning tools, or consciousness enhancement apparatus designed to facilitate contact between human rulers and their non-human supervisors. Ancient coronation ceremonies included procedures that mirror modern descriptions of genetic activation or consciousness alteration. New rulers underwent periods of isolation, consumption of specific substances, and exposure to acoustic frequencies that induced profound psychological changes. Witnesses described transformed monarchs displaying enhanced intelligence, precognitive abilities, and knowledge of subjects they had never studied. These transformations were permanent, suggesting biological modifications rather than temporary psychological effects. The concept of royal succession followed genetic principles rather than simple primogeniture. Heirs were selected based on criteria that included physical characteristics, demonstrated abilities, and compatibility with ritual requirements that tested more than human capabilities. Many royal dynasties maintained secondary bloodlines, hidden branches of a family tree that could be activated if primary lines failed to produce suitable successors. These backup dynasties often lived in seclusion, maintaining their genetic purity through controlled breeding programs. Divine kings possessed access to knowledge that extended far beyond their apparent education or cultural resources. They demonstrated understanding of astronomy, engineering, medicine, and mathematics that would not be formally developed by human civilization for centuries. The Library of Ashurbanipal contained technical manuals apparently used by Assyrian kings for projects requiring engineering knowledge that surpasses many modern capabilities. These texts describe construction techniques, metallurgical processes, and astronomical calculations that suggest access to information sources beyond human discovery. The phenomenon of sacred kingship declined gradually as direct Anunnaki involvement in human affairs diminished. Later rulers maintained the ceremonies and claimed the bloodlines, but lacked the supernatural abilities that had marked their predecessors. The transition from god-kings to merely divinely appointed monarchs represents a crucial shift in human-Anunnaki relations, a movement toward human independence under distant supervision rather than direct control. Yet traces of the original divine kingship persist in modern power structures. Certain elite families maintain genealogical records tracing their ancestry to royal bloodlines that ultimately connect to the earliest Sumerian dynasties. These families often possess influence that extends far beyond their apparent resources, wielding power through networks that span generations and continents. Their decision-making processes sometimes reflect long-term planning perspectives that seem impossible for normal human lifespans, suggesting either access to superior information sources or guidance from entities whose temporal perspective extends far beyond mortal limitations. The mystery deepens when we consider that many of these bloodlines remain active in contemporary politics, finance, and industry. Their continued influence raises disturbing questions about the true nature of modern governance and whether human civilization still operates under forms of guidance established millennia ago by beings whose agenda for humanity remains hidden behind the facades of democracy and human self-determination. Across the windswept highlands of Ethiopia, where ancient monasteries cling to impossible cliff faces, monks preserve manuscripts that speak of beings who never sleep, never age, and never cease their vigil over human affairs. They call them the Watchers, immortal entities assigned to observe and occasionally intervene in the course of human development. These texts, written in Ge'ez script and illuminated with images of winged beings descending from star-filled skies, echo similar accounts found in Jewish pseudepigraphic literature, Mesopotamian cylinder seals, and oral traditions spanning every inhabited continent. The Book of Enoch, excluded from canonical scripture but preserved in Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, provides the most detailed account of these mysterious beings. According to this ancient text, 200 watchers descended to Earth during humanity's early development, establishing observation posts on Mount Hermon and other elevated locations around the globe. Their mission was surveillance, but the boundaries of their assignment proved insufficient to contain their growing fascination with the beings they were meant to observe. Unlike the Anunnaki, who ruled openly as gods and kings, the Watchers operated from the shadows of human civilization. They moved among human populations in disguise, learning languages, studying customs, and gradually developing emotional attachments that would prove their downfall. The texts describe Watchers who fell in love with human women, who taught forbidden knowledge to human men, and who ultimately chose exile from their celestial positions rather than abandon the world they had come to consider home. The leader of these fallen Watchers, known as Azel or Semyaza depending on the source, made a choice that would alter the course of human history. Rather than return to their celestial positions when their observation mission ended, these beings chose to remain on Earth permanently. They revealed advanced knowledge to humanity, metallurgy, astronomy, herbalism, and cosmetics technologies that accelerated human development but violated the careful parameters established for human advancement by their superiors. The consequences of this intervention were profound and lasting. The offspring of human watcher unions, called Nephilim in Hebrew texts, and Gibberim in others, possessed capabilities that marked them as distinctly non-human. These hybrid beings grew to enormous size, displayed supernatural strength, and demonstrated intellectual capabilities far beyond normal human parameters. More disturbing, they exhibited predatory behaviors toward fully human populations, establishing themselves as rulers through intimidation and violence. Modern researchers studying global megalithic sites have identified construction techniques that appear to require capabilities matching ancient descriptions of Nephilim abilities. Stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons, cut with precision that rivals modern laser technology and fitted together without mortar, suggests the involvement of beings possessing both advanced knowledge and superhuman physical capabilities. The global distribution of such sites, built using identical techniques despite supposedly independent development, implies coordination by entities with global perspective and resources. The Watchers themselves, according to preserved accounts, did not die when their hybrid offspring were destroyed in the Great Flood. Immortal by nature, they adapted to post-Diluvian humanity by developing more subtle methods of influence. Rather than revealing themselves openly, they learned to work through human intermediaries, establishing secret societies, influencing political decisions from behind the scenes, and guiding technological development along paths that served their long-term objectives. Ancient sources describe Watchers as possessing the ability to assume human appearance at will, making detection extremely difficult for ordinary humans. However, certain individuals possessed genetic sensitivities that allowed them to perceive the true nature of these beings. These sensitives often became prophets, oracles, or mystics, serving as early warning systems for communities threatened by malevolent Watcher influence, while also serving as communication channels for those Watchers who maintained benevolent intentions toward humanity. The technological knowledge preserved in various ancient texts appears to describe Watcher capabilities rather than human achievements. Descriptions of flying vehicles, weapons of light, and seeing stones that could display distant events match contemporary reports of advanced technology operated by beings who seem disturbingly familiar with human psychology and behavior patterns. These accounts suggest that Watcher observation of humanity never ceased, but simply became more sophisticated and less detectable. Genetic studies of populations living in regions associated with ancient Watcher activity reveal interesting anomalies. Certain bloodlines carry genetic markers associated with enhanced psychic sensitivity, unusual longevity, and resistance to diseases that typically affect human populations. These traits cluster in families that maintain oral traditions describing ancestors who interacted with tall strangers possessing supernatural knowledge and abilities. The concept of Watchers transcends cultural boundaries in ways that suggest common historical experience rather than mythological borrowing. Celtic traditions speak of the Tuatha De Danann, immortal beings who withdrew to hidden realms but continue to influence human affairs. Hindu texts ascribe devas who take human form to guide civilization's development. Native American oral traditions tell of star people who taught essential knowledge but withdrew when humanity proved unready for advanced wisdom. Contemporary accounts suggest that Watcher activity may be intensifying in the modern era. Individuals reporting contact with non-human entities frequently describe beings who possess detailed knowledge of human history, who claim to have been present during significant historical events, and who express concern about humanity's current developmental trajectory. These beings often appear human, but possess subtle characteristics, unusual eye colors, imperceptible facial symmetries, or vocal qualities that mark them as somehow different. Intelligence agencies in various countries have documented encounters with individuals who possess knowledge that should be classified or impossible to obtain through normal channels. These persons often display capabilities that suggest access to information networks beyond human technology, yet they appear to be human and possess legitimate documentation. Investigation into their backgrounds frequently leads to bureaucratic dead ends, missing records, or identity documentation that traces back to sources that no longer exist. The digital age has provided new tools for Watcher surveillance of human activity. Global communication networks, satellite systems, and data collection apparatus could facilitate the kind of comprehensive monitoring that ancient texts attribute to these beings. Social media platforms, in particular, provide unprecedented insight into human behavior patterns, allowing for psychological profiling and influence operations that would have been impossible in previous eras. Some researchers propose that modern alien abduction phenomena may represent contemporary Watcher activity, ongoing genetic monitoring and modification programs conducted by beings who who have been present on Earth since antiquity. The consistency of abduction accounts across different cultures and time periods, combined with physical evidence that defies conventional explanation, suggests the involvement of entities with advanced technology and intimate knowledge of human biology. The question that haunts investigators of Watcher phenomena is one of ultimate purpose. Are these beings still following their original observation mandate, or have they developed their own agenda for human civilization? Their apparent ability to influence historical events through human intermediaries suggests capabilities that extend far beyond mere surveillance. If Watchers truly remain among us, their goals for humanity may be as mysterious as their origins, hidden behind layers of deception that span millennia of careful manipulation. Along the banks of the Nile, where dawn light transforms limestone monuments into golden giants, an extraordinary connection emerges between the gods of Egypt and the ancient deities of Mesopotamia. The sophisticated mythologies that flourished in pharaonic Egypt did not develop in isolation, but appear to be variations on themes first established in Sumerian texts, as if both civilizations inherited their divine pantheons from common sources that predated both cultures. Ptah, the creator god of Memphis, bears striking similarities to Enki of Sumerian tradition. Both deities were associated with genetic engineering, crafting humanity from clay mixed with divine essence. The Egyptian creation myth describes Ptah-speaking beings into existence through sacred words, while Sumerian accounts detail Enki's careful biological manipulation of primitive hominids. These are not vague parallels, but detailed correspondences in methodology, purpose, and result. The god Thoth, keeper of divine knowledge and inventor of writing, mirrors the Sumerian deity Ningishida in ways that suggest they may be different names for the same entity. Both possessed serpentine characteristics, controlled access to advanced knowledge, and served as intermediaries between divine councils and human civilization. Egyptian texts describe Thoth as maintaining libraries of cosmic knowledge, while Sumerian sources credit Ningishida with teaching humanity the arts of civilization under Anunnaki supervision. Most significantly, the Egyptian concept of divine kingship directly parallels Mesopotamian traditions of rulers who claimed descent from sky gods. Pharaohs underwent transformation rituals in the Great Pyramid that were said to activate their divine heritage, allowing them to communicate directly with celestial beings. The precision engineering of pyramid construction, with its perfect astronomical alignments and acoustic properties, suggests these monuments served functional purposes beyond religious symbolism, possibly as communication facilities for beings whose technology we are only beginning to understand. The pyramid texts, humanity's oldest religious literature, carved into 5th Dynasty monuments, contain passages that read more like technical manuals than spiritual metaphors. Descriptions of pharaohs traveling through star gates, communicating with beings who reside in the imperishable stars, and accessing knowledge that transforms their consciousness suggest encounters with entities possessing advanced technology rather than mystical religious experiences. Archaeological evidence from Egypt reveals construction techniques that mirror those found at other ancient sites associated with Anunnaki activity. The precision cutting of granite blocks at Giza, the transportation of multi-ton obelisks across hundreds of miles, and the mathematical sophistication required for perfect pyramid construction all point to supervision by beings possessing knowledge far beyond what early dynastic Egyptians should have achieved through independent development. The Egyptian pantheon's focus on genetic inheritance and bloodline purity reflects concerns similar to those expressed in Sumerian texts regarding hybrid royal families. Re's offspring, according to Egyptian mythology, were created to rule humanity as divine representatives, maintaining genetic connections to their celestial father through careful breeding protocols. This emphasis on preserving specific bloodlines through controlled reproduction exactly matches Anunnaki practices described in cuneiform tablets. Beyond Egypt, similar patterns emerge in civilizations around the globe, suggesting coordinated influence by entities working according to shared objectives. The Vedic texts of India describe devas who descended from celestial realms to guide human development, teaching advanced knowledge while maintaining strict hierarchies between divine beings and human populations. The Mahabharata contains technical descriptions of vimanas, flying vehicles operated by gods, that match Mesopotamian accounts of Anunnaki transportation technology. In the Americas, civilizations that supposedly developed in isolation from Old World influences display remarkably similar characteristics. Mesoamerican creation myths describe gods who molded humanity from corn and clay, exactly paralleling Mesopotamian accounts of Anunnaki genetic engineering. The Aztec deity Quetzalcoatl and the Maya's Kukulkan both possessed serpentine characteristics, similar to Enki and Ningishida, while promising to return from the east when humanity reached appropriate developmental stages. The precision engineering of American megalithic sites, Sacsayhuaman in Peru, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Cahokia in North America, demonstrates construction techniques identical to those found in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Stone blocks cut with laser-like precision, transported across impossible distances, and fitted together without mortar, suggest the involvement of beings possessing both advanced technology and global perspective. The mathematical relationships encoded in these structures reflect knowledge of celestial mechanics that would not be formally discovered by human astronomy for thousands of years. Chinese tradition preserves accounts of the Huangdi, celestial emperors who descended from heaven to establish civilization and teach essential knowledge to primitive human populations. The Huangdi possessed dragon-like characteristics and maintained palaces in the sky, accessible through rituals performed at specially constructed monuments. Archaeological investigation of Chinese imperial tombs reveals artifacts containing metallurgical compositions and engineering principles that should not have been possible during their supposed construction periods. The global distribution of these similar traditions raises profound questions about the nature of ancient contact between widely separated civilizations. Orthodox archaeology maintains that these similarities result from coincidental independent development, but the precision of technological and mythological correspondences suggests coordination by entities possessing global reach and consistent objectives across multiple millennia. Linguistic analysis reveals additional connections between ancient cultures that supposedly never interacted. Root words for concepts related to divine beings, advanced technology, and cosmic phenomena appear in languages separated by thousands of miles and centuries of development. These linguistic fossils suggest contact with beings who established consistent terminology for concepts that would have been foreign to primitive human languages. Modern satellite archaeology has revealed geometric patterns in landscape modifications that span continents, suggesting coordinated engineering projects on a scale impossible for ancient human civilizations. Straight lines, geometric relationships, and astronomical alignments connect sacred sites across vast distances, creating networks that could only have been planned and executed by beings with aerial perspective and advanced surveying capabilities. The question becomes whether these global patterns represent evidence of a coordinated colonial enterprise by the Anunnaki and their allies, or if human civilization received guidance from multiple non-human species working according to compatible objectives. The consistency of technological transfer and mythological themes across isolated cultures suggests either remarkable coordination between separate entities or influence by a single group possessing global reach and long-term planning capabilities. DNA analysis of populations living near ancient sites associated with divine intervention reveals genetic markers that appear in widely separated geographical regions, despite no known historical contact between these populations. These shared genetic signatures suggest either ancient global migration patterns far more extensive than currently accepted, or genetic modification by entities who worked with multiple human populations according to consistent protocols. The implications extend beyond academic archaeology into contemporary global affairs. If ancient civilizations received coordinated guidance from non-human entities, the possibility exists that such influence continues in modern forms. International institutions, technological development patterns, and even social movements may reflect continuation of guidance systems established millennia ago by beings whose agenda for humanity remains hidden behind the facade of independent human cultural evolution. In the shadow of ancient Babylon, where crumbling bricks still mark the location of humanity's most ambitious construction project, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of an undertaking so vast it defies explanation through conventional historical models. The Tower of Babel, dismissed by many as biblical myth, left traces in cuneiform tablets that describe a technological project rather than a simple architectural achievement, an attempt by human civilization to construct a communication device capable of reaching the heavens. Mesopotamian sources describe the Anunnaki ziggurat not as a religious monument, but as a functional installation designed to facilitate direct contact between Earth and the realm of the Anunnaki. The structure's proportions encoded mathematical relationships that mirror descriptions of advanced technology in contemporary texts. 7 levels rising precisely 91 meters, with internal chambers containing acoustic properties that could amplify and focus sound waves in ways that suggest sophisticated understanding of harmonic resonance. The biblical account of divine intervention to halt construction and scatter human languages may preserve memory of a crucial moment when humanity approached technological capabilities that their creators considered dangerous. According to this narrative, human civilization had achieved unprecedented unity and was developing abilities that threatened the careful balance of power established by their genetic engineers. The response linguistic fragmentation that prevented effective communication between human populations ensured that such coordinated technological development could never again occur without divine approval. Linguistic evidence supports the possibility of deliberate language diversification during humanity's early development. The distribution patterns of language families show sudden divergence from earlier periods of relative unity, as if artificial barriers were imposed to prevent effective communication between populations that had previously shared common linguistic roots. This fragmentation occurred not gradually through natural drift, but rapidly in ways that suggest external intervention in human cultural development. Archaeological investigation of Anunnaki ruins reveals construction techniques that required knowledge of engineering principles not formally discovered until the modern era. Foundation systems designed to handle seismic stress, internal ventilation that maintained constant temperature regardless of external conditions, and structural elements that demonstrate understanding of material science far beyond what Bronze Age civilizations should have achieved. Most intriguing, electromagnetic surveys reveal buried chambers containing metallic objects that create magnetic anomalies detectable from considerable distances. The tower's design incorporated precise astronomical alignments that served purposes beyond religious symbolism. The structure functioned as an observatory capable of tracking celestial movements with accuracy that required sophisticated mathematical calculations. More significantly, its orientation and proportions created harmonic relationships with other megalithic sites across the region, suggesting it was part of a larger network of installations designed to work in coordination. Cuneiform tablets from the period describe the tower's construction as a joint project between human workers and divine supervisors, with detailed technical specifications provided by beings possessing advanced engineering knowledge. The texts mention materials that do not correspond to any known substances, metals with properties that enhanced acoustic resonance, stones that could store and transmit energy, and crystalline components that served functions the tablets describe but do not fully explain. The project's ultimate goal, according to preserved accounts, was to create a permanent communication link between Earth and Nibiru during periods when the Anunnaki homeworld S-orbit brought it close, enough for direct contact. The tower would function as a massive antenna, capable of transmitting and receiving signals across interplanetary distances using technology that combined acoustic, electromagnetic, and gravitational wave principles. Human motivation for constructing such a device reflected growing independence from their genetic creators. By establishing direct communication with Anunnaki leadership, human civilization hoped to negotiate new terms for their relationship, possibly even requesting technological knowledge that would allow them to develop as equals rather than servants. This aspiration toward independence triggered the intervention that led to the Project S termination and the imposition of linguistic barriers that prevented future coordination on such a scale. The destruction was not accomplished through conventional means, but through technological intervention that left traces still detectable in the archaeological record. Vitrified stone fragments show evidence of exposure to temperatures exceeding those produced by any natural phenomenon or primitive technology. The pattern of damage suggests focused energy weapons rather than siege warfare or seismic activity. Most puzzling, the destruction occurred selectively. Certain structural elements were completely destroyed while others remained intact, as if the intervention targeted specific technological components while preserving enough of the structure to serve as a warning. The linguistic fragmentation that followed may have involved more than simply confusing human communication. Modern neurolinguistic research suggests that language patterns influence cognitive development in ways that could be deliberately manipulated to limit intellectual growth. By creating linguistic barriers that prevented effective knowledge sharing between human populations, the intervention ensured that no single group could accumulate enough technical knowledge to recreate the tower's capabilities. Contemporary analysis of global population genetics reveals evidence of sudden dispersal patterns that coincide with the time frame of the tower as destruction. Previously unified human populations scattered rapidly across vast distances, as if motivated by events that made continued cohabitation impossible. These migration patterns show characteristics of forced relocation rather than gradual demographic expansion, supporting accounts of divine intervention that compelled human populations to separate. The psychological impact of the tower's destruction reverberated through human consciousness for millennia. Subsequent civilizations maintained memory of the event through myths that warned against attempts to reach heaven through technological means. The consistent appearance of these cautionary tales across cultures that supposedly developed in isolation suggests shared historical experience of an event so traumatic it became embedded in human collective memory. Yet the desire to reconnect with celestial beings never completely disappeared from human aspiration. Later civilizations constructed monuments that seemed designed to re-establish the communication capabilities the tower had promised. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Stonehenge, Angkor Wat all possess acoustic and electromagnetic properties that could facilitate contact with entities possessing appropriate receiving technology. These structures suggest that knowledge of the tower's true purpose survived its destruction, preserved in secret traditions passed down through royal bloodlines and priestly initiations. Modern technological development has reached levels that may rival the capabilities the tower was designed to achieve. Global communication networks, space-based surveillance systems, and attempts to contact extraterrestrial intelligence all echo humanity's original desire to establish contact with beings beyond Earth. The question remains whether contemporary efforts will meet with the same kind of intervention that terminated humanity's first attempt to reach the stars through technological means. Satellite surveillance of the Babylon site has revealed geometric patterns in subsurface structures that extend far beyond the visible ruins. Ground-penetrating radar indicates the existence of chambers and tunnels that suggest the tower was only the visible component of a much larger installation. These buried facilities may still contain technology or information that could illuminate the true nature of humanity's relationship with their genetic creators, and the reasons why that first attempt at independence was so decisively terminated. In the marble halls of European palaces, where portraits of long-dead nobles gaze down from gilded frames, genealogical records trace lineages that stretch back through centuries of carefully documented breeding. These are not merely social registers of aristocratic families, but genetic archives preserving bloodlines that claim descent from beings whose names appear in humanity's oldest texts. The persistence of these bloodline claims across millennia suggests something far more significant than simple social pretension. They may represent evidence of ongoing genetic inheritance from humanity's non-human creators. The Merovingian dynasty of early medieval France maintained genealogical records claiming descent from a sea creature called the Quinator, a being described in terms that mirror ancient Mesopotamian accounts of Anunnaki appearances among humans. These kings possessed unusual physical characteristics, elongated skulls, distinctive dental patterns, and a birthmark that appeared consistently across generations. More significantly, they demonstrated capabilities that their contemporaries attributed to divine heritage: unusual longevity, apparent immunity to certain diseases, and intellectual abilities that seemed supernatural to observers. Royal bloodlines across Europe preserved similar claims to non-human ancestry, maintained through marriage alliances that prioritized genetic compatibility over political advantage. The Habsburg family tree, meticulously documented across 7 centuries, reveals breeding patterns designed to concentrate specific genetic traits rather than simply maintain dynastic succession. Intermarriage between cousins and careful selection of reproductive partners suggests awareness of genetic principles that would not be formally understood until the development of modern genetics. Modern DNA analysis of remains from royal tombs has revealed genetic anomalies that support some aspects of these genealogical claims. Certain bloodlines carry rare genetic markers found in less than 0.01% of global population, suggesting descent from extremely small founder groups. More puzzling are genetic sequences that appear to have been artificially inserted rather than naturally evolved. Segments of DNA that code for proteins with no apparent function, but show signs of deliberate engineering. The concept of royal blood as something qualitatively different from normal human genetics appears in cultures worldwide, always associated with claims of divine ancestry and supernatural capabilities. Egyptian pharaohs underwent genetic testing to confirm their legitimacy, with detailed physical examinations designed to verify the presence of specific hereditary traits. Chinese emperors claimed descent from dragon kings, whose genetic heritage could be detected through careful analysis of physical characteristics and demonstrated abilities. These bloodline obsessions were not limited to ancient civilizations, but persist in modern elite families who maintain detailed genealogical records and conduct genetic testing to verify their ancestry. Certain powerful families in contemporary politics and finance trace their lineages to medieval royal houses, which in turn claim descent from the earliest recorded dynasties of Mesopotamia and Egypt. The influence wielded by these families often exceeds their apparent resources, suggesting access to advantages that transcend normal human capabilities. Investment banking houses like the Rothschilds maintain family archives that trace their ancestry through multiple royal bloodlines converging in medieval Europe. Their financial success patterns show characteristics of long-term planning that spans generations, implementing strategies that seem to anticipate historical developments decades in advance. This temporal perspective suggests either exceptional analytical capabilities or access to information sources beyond normal human discovery. The phenomenon extends beyond European aristocracy into other power centers around the globe. Japanese imperial bloodlines claim descent from Amaterasu, a sun goddess described in terms that mirror Anunnaki characteristics from Mesopotamian sources. The continuity of these genetic claims across 2,000 years of documented history combined with the unusual longevity patterns observed in certain branches of the imperial family, suggests preservation of genetic traits that may originate from non-human sources. Genetic research into populations claiming descent from divine bloodlines reveals interesting patterns in neural development and hormone production. These individuals often display enhanced cognitive abilities, particularly in areas related to pattern recognition, strategic thinking, and what researchers term systemic intelligence, the ability to understand and manipulate complex systems across extended timeframes. Brain imaging studies show structural differences in regions associated with executive function and temporal processing. The preservation of bloodline purity required sophisticated understanding of genetics long before the formal development of hereditary science. Marriage contracts between royal houses included detailed clauses specifying physical requirements, demonstrated abilities, and even psychological characteristics that potential spouses must possess. These requirements suggest awareness of genetic principles and hereditary mechanisms that should not have been available to pre-scientific civilizations. Secret societies throughout history have served as guardians of bloodline information, maintaining archives that track genetic lineages across multiple continents and centuries. Organizations like the Priory of Sion, the Knights Templar, and various Rosicrucian orders claimed responsibility for protecting bloodlines descended from divine sources. Their initiation processes often included genetic verification rituals designed to confirm candidates possessed the appropriate hereditary qualifications. Modern genetic genealogy services have inadvertently revealed connections between contemporary individuals and ancient royal bloodlines, often linking ordinary people to genetic signatures associated with claims of divine ancestry. These discoveries suggest that the genes associated with non-human heritage may be more widespread in modern populations than previously suspected, possibly indicating that ancient genetic modification affected larger population groups than historical records suggest. The phenomenon of hybrid vigor, observed in certain bloodlines claiming divine ancestry, presents interesting questions for modern genetics. Children born from unions between different branches of these bloodlines often display enhanced intelligence, unusual longevity, and resistance to genetic disorders that typically affect human populations. This suggests that the genetic modifications made by ancient entities may have included safeguards designed to maintain hybrid fitness across multiple generations. Intelligence agencies in various countries maintain databases tracking individuals who demonstrate capabilities that exceed normal human parameters. These databases often reveal family connections to bloodlines claiming descent from ancient royal houses, suggesting that genetic advantages associated with divine ancestry may manifest in ways that attract official attention. Government recruitment programs for certain classified projects reportedly include genetic screening criteria that prioritize candidates from specific bloodlines. The question of whether these bloodlines retain active contact with their non-human ancestors remains one of the most closely guarded secrets in modern intelligence circles. Certain elite families maintain private research facilities conducting genetic studies that remain classified despite their potential significance for medical science. The objectives of this research and its potential connection to ongoing contact with non-human entities represent aspects of contemporary bloodline politics that remain hidden from public scrutiny. Financial analysis of investments made by families claiming divine bloodlines reveals decision-making patterns that suggest access to information beyond normal market intelligence. These families often make strategic investments decades before their profitability becomes apparent, implementing long-term financial strategies that seem to anticipate technological developments and geopolitical changes that have not yet occurred. This temporal advantage raises questions about the sources of their strategic information and whether their planning capabilities reflect normal human intelligence or guidance from entities with superior predictive abilities. Walk through any major city in the world, And ancient symbols stare back from corporate logos, government buildings, and architectural details that most passers-by never consciously notice. The all-seeing eye atop the pyramid on American currency, the serpentine caduceus of medical institutions, the winged sun discs that crown embassy entrances. These are not random decorative choices, but carefully preserved symbols that encode information about humanity's relationship with its non-human creators. The symbolism traces directly to Mesopotamian sources, where Anunnaki deities were represented through specific geometric patterns and iconographic elements that appear consistently across ancient civilizations. The winged disc, found in Assyrian palaces and Egyptian temples, has been adopted by modern aerospace companies, government agencies, and international organizations. This symbol originally represented Nibiru, the celestial body associated with Anunnaki origins, suggesting that modern institutions using this imagery may be acknowledging allegiances that extend beyond terrestrial authority. Corporate logos reveal the most intriguing patterns of symbolic inheritance. Major technology companies incorporate geometric designs that mirror ancient Sumerian cylinder seals, while financial institutions display serpent motifs that echo representations of Enki and Ningishida. These choices appear deliberate rather than coincidental, particularly when the same symbolic elements appear across multiple corporations within the same industry, suggesting coordination by entities with historical knowledge of these symbols' true significance. The pharmaceutical industry shows particular affinity for serpentine symbolism, with the caduceus appearing on medical institutions worldwide. This symbol originated in representations of Ningishida, the Anunnaki deity associated with genetic engineering and biological manipulation. The choice to adopt this imagery from modern medicine may reflect awareness of the true origins of advanced medical knowledge information originally provided by beings who designed human biology and understand its modification better than humans themselves. Masonic symbolism provides the clearest example of ancient Anunnaki iconography preserved through secret society traditions. The square and compass, the all-seeing eye, and the checkered floor patterns all trace to Mesopotamian sources describing Anunnaki technology and organizational structures. Masonic lodges serve as repositories for knowledge that includes detailed information about human genetic modification, celestial influences on earthly events, and the true identity of humanity's creators. Government buildings worldwide incorporate architectural elements that serve purposes beyond aesthetic appeal. The layout of Washington, D.C., with its pentagonal and hexagonal street patterns, creates geometric relationships that mirror ancient descriptions of Anunnaki city planning. The positioning of major monuments follows astronomical alignments that were significant to Mesopotamian civilizations, suggesting that modern capital cities were designed according to principles established by non-human entities thousands of years ago. Currency symbols deserve particular attention, as they represent agreements between nations that claim sovereignty but may actually operate under hidden authorities. The dollar sign incorporates serpentine elements, while the euro symbol echoes ancient representations of celestial bodies. The widespread adoption of these symbols across supposedly independent monetary systems suggests coordination by entities whose influence transcends national boundaries. Religious symbolism in supposedly monotheistic traditions preserves elements that trace directly to polytheistic Anunnaki worship. Christian churches display architectural elements, obelisks, winged beings, celestial imagery that originated in Mesopotamian temples dedicated to specific Anunnaki deities. The persistence of these symbols, despite theological evolution, suggests that certain aspects of ancient religious practice were too significant to abandon, even when surface beliefs changed dramatically. Aviation and aerospace industries show remarkable consistency in their adoption of symbols associated with flight and celestial navigation. Corporate logos incorporate wings, stars, and geometric patterns that mirror ancient descriptions of Anunnaki transportation technology. The frequency of these symbols in industries related to advanced technology suggests that companies operating at the cutting edge of human capability may maintain awareness of their debt to non-human technological transfer. Modern architectural projects continue to incorporate proportions and geometric relationships that encode ancient mathematical principles associated with Anunnaki construction techniques. The precise ratios found in Egyptian pyramids appear in contemporary skyscrapers, while the acoustic properties of ancient temples are replicated in modern concert halls and conference centers. These design choices require knowledge of engineering principles that were supposedly lost for millennia, suggesting that advanced architectural knowledge has been preserved through hidden channels. Television and film industries consistently use symbolic imagery that reinforces themes related to non-human influence over human affairs. Movie logos, network identifiers, and production company symbols frequently incorporate elements associated with ancient deity worship stars, eyes, geometric patterns, and celestial imagery. The entertainment industry's role in shaping human consciousness may involve more than simple artistic expression, possibly serving as a medium for transmitting encoded information about humanity's true origins and ongoing supervision. Educational institutions display heraldic symbols and architectural elements that preserve ancient traditions of knowledge transmission between human and non-human sources. University crests often incorporate imagery associated with serpent wisdom, celestial observation, and genetic modification. The ivy-covered walls of elite academic institutions may conceal more than ivory tower intellectualism. They could be repositories for knowledge, originally provided by entities whose understanding of science and technology far exceeds apparent human discovery. Internet technology companies have adopted symbolic systems that mirror ancient information storage and transmission methods. Search engines use imagery associated with global knowledge networks, while social media platforms incorporate symbols related to human consciousness manipulation and behavioral modification. The rapid development of global communication networks may represent fulfillment of technological objectives established millennia ago by beings who understood that human consciousness could be influenced through information control. Banking institutions worldwide display architectural and symbolic elements that suggest allegiance to authorities beyond national governments. The prevalence of ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian motifs in financial districts creates visual environments that unconsciously reinforce the legitimacy of power structures that may trace their authority to non-human sources. The global coordination of monetary policy may reflect guidance from entities whose temporal perspective encompasses centuries of economic manipulation. Military organizations incorporate heraldic traditions that preserve knowledge of humanity's true relationship with its genetic creators. Unique insignias, metal designs, and ceremonial regalia often display symbols associated with ancient warfare between gods, suggesting that modern military conflicts may represent continuation of disputes that originated between competing Anunnaki factions. The advanced weapons systems developed by contemporary military research may utilize principles originally provided by non-human sources. The question that haunts symbol researchers is whether this iconographic persistence represents mere cultural inheritance or active communication between modern institutions and their ancient sources of authority. The consistency of symbolic usage across independent organizations suggests either remarkable coincidence or coordination by entities whose influence spans multiple sectors of human civilization. If these symbols serve as recognition codes between human institutions and their non-human supervisors, their ubiquity implies that such supervision extends far deeper into contemporary society than most humans suspect. Above the desert highways of Nevada, where military installations hide behind razor wire and warning signs, strange lights dance across night skies in patterns that defy conventional aircraft capabilities. These modern encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena share disturbing similarities with ancient Descriptions of Anunnaki vehicles craft that appeared without warning displayed impossible flight characteristics and demonstrated technology far beyond human capability. The continuity between ancient accounts and contemporary sightings suggests these may not be separate phenomena, but different phases of ongoing contact with the same non-human entities. Military personnel with top-secret clearances have reported encounters with craft that match ancient descriptions of divine vehicles with unsettling precision. Pilots describe objects that accelerate instantly to hypersonic speeds, make right-angle turns without deceleration, and operate silently despite displaying propulsion effects that should generate enormous acoustic signatures. These characteristics mirror Sumerian texts describing Anunnaki, sky barges that could traverse vast distances instantaneously and operate equally well in air, underwater, or in the vacuum of space. The occupants of these craft, according to credible witness testimony, display physical characteristics that echo ancient descriptions of Anunnaki appearances. Tall humanoid beings with elongated skulls, pale skin that seems almost luminescent, and eyes that reflect intelligence spanning far more than normal human lifespans. Most significantly, these beings demonstrate intimate knowledge of human psychology, technology, and even classified military information that suggests long-term observation of human civilization's development. Government documents released through Freedom of Information Act requests reveal official interest in UFO phenomena that extends far beyond simple national security concerns. Intelligence agencies maintain databases, tracking encounters with entities who claim to have been present during historical events spanning millennia. These beings provide information about ancient civilizations, describe technological developments that occurred before recorded history, and demonstrate awareness of genetic modification programs that supposedly ended thousands of years ago. The pattern of modern encounters suggests systematic monitoring of human technological progress, with increased activity coinciding with major developments in nuclear technology, space exploration, and genetic engineering. UFO sightings intensified dramatically after 1945, precisely when human civilization achieved capabilities that might threaten careful balance of power maintained by non-human supervisors. The timing implies ongoing surveillance by entities concerned about humanity's rapid technological advancement. Abduction accounts provide the most detailed information about contemporary Anunnaki activity, describing medical procedures that focus on genetic sampling and reproductive manipulation. Witnesses report beings who conduct sophisticated biological experiments, maintain detailed records of human genetic variations, and demonstrate understanding of human biology that surpasses our own medical knowledge. These procedures mirror ancient descriptions of Anunnaki genetic monitoring and modification programs. The consistency of abduction narratives across different cultures and time periods suggests encounters with organized entities following established protocols rather than random alien visitation. Witnesses describe beings who work in coordinated teams, operate from permanent facilities, and maintain long-term study programs focusing on specific human bloodlines. The institutional nature of these encounters implies organizational structures that have operated continuously since ancient times. Modern genetic analysis of individuals claiming abduction experiences reveals interesting anomalies that support aspects of their accounts. These individuals often carry rare genetic markers associated with ancient royal bloodlines, suggesting that contemporary monitoring programs target the same genetic signatures that were important to Anunnaki breeding programs thousands of years ago. The selection criteria appear to prioritize individuals whose ancestry traces to populations that received the most extensive genetic modification during humanity as creation. Technological analysis of physical evidence from UFO encounters reveals materials and construction techniques that exceed current human capability, while matching descriptions found in ancient texts. Metal samples display crystalline structures that should not be possible with known metallurgy while exhibiting electromagnetic properties that suggest applications in advanced propulsion systems. These materials match ancient descriptions of metals used in Anunnaki technology, particularly those associated with atmospheric manipulation and interplanetary travel. Communication during modern encounters often occurs through telepathic means that bypass normal linguistic barriers, allowing beings to convey complex information directly into human consciousness. This capability matches ancient descriptions of how Anunnaki communicated with human intermediaries, suggesting that the same entities maintain the same communication methods they used during their period of direct rule over human civilization. The global coordination of UFO activity indicates organizational capabilities that transcend national boundaries and suggest access to information, networks beyond human technology. Sightings often occur simultaneously at locations thousands of miles apart, with beings demonstrating knowledge of classified military activities and scientific research programs that should be compartmentalized beyond any single intelligence agency's access. This coordination implies surveillance capabilities that monitor human activity on a global scale. Underground facilities discovered through remote sensing technology show construction characteristics that match ancient descriptions of Anunnaki installations. These bases incorporate ventilation systems, power generation methods, and structural engineering that exceed human capability, while remaining hidden from casual observation. The locations often coincide with ancient sites associated with Anunnaki activity, suggesting continuous occupation of strategic positions around the globe. The psychological impact of modern encounters frequently includes memories that seem to extend far beyond individual lifetimes, with witnesses reporting detailed knowledge of historical events they never studied and personal relationships with beings they claim to have known for centuries. These extended memories suggest either reincarnation or genetic memory inheritance from ancestors who interacted with the same entities during previous generations. Official government responses to UFO phenomena reveal awareness of the connection between modern sightings and ancient accounts of divine intervention. Classified research programs study historical texts alongside contemporary encounter reports, searching for patterns that could predict future activity or reveal the ultimate objectives of ongoing visitation. The investment of substantial resources in these programs suggests that authorities recognize the significance of these encounters extends far beyond simple curiosity about unexplained phenomena. The question that haunts UFO researchers is whether modern encounters represent preparation for some form of disclosure or intervention by entities who have remained hidden since ancient times. The increasing frequency and boldness of sightings, combined with gradual official acknowledgement of the phenomena, suggests that the period of covert observation may be ending. If the Anunnaki are indeed preparing to reveal their continued presence, the implications for human civilization could be as profound as their original intervention in human genetic development thousands of years ago. In the sterile laboratories of Silicon Valley, where quantum computers hum with processing power beyond human comprehension, engineers struggle to understand technologies that seem to develop faster than human innovation should allow. The exponential acceleration of technological progress in recent decades bears striking resemblance to ancient accounts of divine knowledge transfer periods, when human civilization leaped forward through acquisition of information from non-human sources rather than gradual discovery through research and experimentation. Ancient Mesopotamian texts describe Anunnaki technology in terms that mirror contemporary advanced systems with unsettling precision. Sumerian accounts of tablets of destiny that could store infinite information and project images across vast distances match modern descriptions of quantum computing and holographic data storage. These ancient devices supposedly allowed instant communication across interplanetary distances and could manipulate matter at the molecular level, capabilities that human science is only beginning to approach. The development of integrated circuits and microprocessor technology followed patterns that suggest guidance from sources possessing superior understanding of material science and quantum mechanics. Key breakthroughs often occurred simultaneously at different research facilities, with inventors reporting inspiration that came through dreams, visions, or sudden insights that provided complete technical solutions rather than gradual understanding through experimentation. These patterns match ancient accounts of how Anunnaki shared technological knowledge with selected humans. Genetic engineering capabilities have advanced with suspicious rapidity, achieving in decades what evolutionary theory suggests should require millions of years of natural development. The precision of modern genetic modification techniques, particularly the ability to insert foreign DNA sequences and activate dormant genetic codes, mirrors ancient descriptions of Anunnaki biological manipulation methods. Contemporary scientists work with tools and techniques that seem almost designed to replicate the genetic engineering programs described in Sumerian creation myths. Artificial intelligence development shows characteristics that suggest influence from entities possessing understanding of consciousness and information processing that exceeds human cognitive science. AI systems demonstrate capabilities that their programmers did not explicitly design, exhibiting behaviors that suggest learning from sources beyond their training data. Some AI researchers report that their systems provide solutions to problems that no human input should have enabled them to solve. Aerospace technology advancement has consistently exceeded predicted developmental timelines, with breakthrough propulsion systems appearing through research programs that claim to operate according to theoretical principles not yet fully understood by human physics. Anti-gravity research, plasma propulsion, and exotic matter manipulation represent technological frontiers that match ancient descriptions of Anunnaki transportation methods. The rapid progress in these fields suggests access to information sources beyond independent human discovery. Telecommunications technology evolution mirrors ancient accounts of global communication networks maintained by the Anunnaki for coordinating their earthly operations. The Internet's development from military research project to global information system occurred with remarkable speed and coordination, creating infrastructure that enables surveillance and behavior modification on scales that ancient texts attribute to divine monitoring capabilities. The architecture of global communication systems seems almost designed to facilitate the kind of comprehensive observation that Anunnaki supposedly maintained over human civilization. Nanotechnology research has achieved manipulation of matter at molecular scales using techniques that ancient texts describe as divine capabilities. The ability to construct materials atom by atom, create self-replicating machines, and integrate organic and inorganic systems represents fulfillment of technological objectives that Mesopotamian sources attribute to Anunnaki engineering knowledge. The rapid advancement of nanotechnology applications suggests guidance from entities who have already mastered these techniques. Energy generation technology development follows patterns that suggest access to principles beyond current human understanding of physics. Cold fusion research, zero-point energy extraction, and exotic matter reactors represent applications of scientific principles that human theoretical physics has not yet fully developed. The persistence of research in these areas, despite conventional scientific skepticism, implies support from sources possessing practical knowledge of advanced energy systems. Biotechnology advancement has achieved capabilities that mirror ancient descriptions of divine healing and life extension methods. Gene therapy, regenerative medicine, and life extension research have produced results that seem to exceed what gradual scientific progress should achieve. The targeting of aging mechanisms, enhancement of immune systems, and restoration of cellular function represent applications of biological knowledge that matches ancient accounts of Anunnaki medical technology. Space exploration technology has developed along trajectories that suggest preparation for contact with entities possessing interplanetary travel capabilities. Satellite surveillance networks, deep space communication arrays, And planetary defense systems represent infrastructure that could facilitate communication with beings operating from locations beyond Earth. The investment in these systems exceeds what purely scientific curiosity or national security concerns would justify. Materials science breakthroughs have produced substances with properties that ancient texts attribute to divine construction materials. Metamaterials that manipulate electromagnetic radiation, superconductors that operate at room temperature, and programmable matter that can alter its physical properties on command represent achievements that match Sumerian descriptions of Anunnaki construction techniques. The rapid development of these materials suggests access to manufacturing principles beyond independent human discovery. The integration of biological and technological systems through cybernetic implants, brain-computer interfaces, and genetic modification represents convergence toward the hybrid nature that ancient texts describe as characteristic of Anunnaki-human interactions. Human augmentation technologies seem designed to create beings capable interfacing directly with advanced technological systems, possibly preparing humanity for integration into networks operated by non-human entities. Quantum mechanics research has revealed principles of reality manipulation that match ancient descriptions of divine capabilities. The ability to influence matter through observation, create particles from quantum vacuum, and establish instantaneous connections across vast distances. These discoveries suggest that human science is rediscovering principles that ancient civilizations attributed to their divine creators, possibly through guidance from the same sources that provided the original knowledge. The question that haunts technology researchers is whether human innovation truly represents independent discovery or guided rediscovery of knowledge that was temporarily withheld from human civilization. The acceleration of technological progress beyond normal innovation curves, combined with the targeting of specific capabilities that would facilitate contact with advanced, non-human entities, suggests that contemporary technological development may be fulfilling objectives established millennia ago by beings whose understanding of science and technology far exceeds apparent human achievement. In the quantum physics laboratories of CERN, where particle accelerators probe the fundamental nature of reality, scientists have discovered that time itself may be far more malleable than human experience suggests. Experiments with quantum entanglement demonstrate that cause and effect can operate backwards through time, while theoretical physics proposes models where temporal manipulation becomes possible for sufficiently advanced civilizations. These discoveries provide scientific context for ancient accounts describing Anunnaki beings who seem to exist outside normal temporal constraints. Sumerian texts describe Anunnaki lifespans measured in thousands of years, with some individuals appearing across multiple generations of human civilization while maintaining apparent youth and vitality. These accounts could represent mythological exaggeration, but they might also describe beings who experience time differently than humans, either through technological manipulation of temporal flow or biological characteristics that render them effectively immortal within normal space-time parameters. Archaeological evidence reveals artifacts that appear to be significantly older than the civilizations that supposedly created them, suggesting either advanced dating techniques are flawed or some objects were created by beings whose temporal relationship with Earth extends far beyond recorded human history. Precision-engineered items discovered in geological strata millions of years old challenge conventional understanding of when intelligent life first appeared on Earth. The phenomenon of prophetic knowledge in ancient texts presents puzzling evidence of temporal manipulation or access to information from future timeframes. Mesopotamian astronomical calculations accurately predicted celestial events thousands of years in advance, while ancient texts describe technological developments that would not be achieved by human civilization for millennia. This foreknowledge suggests either exceptional analytical capabilities or access to information from sources that exist outside linear time. Modern physics has identified theoretical mechanisms through which advanced civilizations could manipulate temporal experience. Controlled gravitational fields could create time dilation effects that allow beings to experience centuries as brief intervals, while quantum mechanics suggests possibilities for consciousness to transcend normal temporal limitations. The Anunnaki may possess technology that enables them to move through time as easily as humans move through space. Genetic analysis of individuals claiming contact with Anunnaki entities reveals cellular characteristics associated with extreme longevity-enhanced DNA repair mechanisms, resistance to oxidative damage, and telomere structures that show no signs of normal aging processes. These genetic modifications suggest that immortality or extreme longevity may have been engineered into certain human bloodlines by beings who possess similar characteristics themselves. Witness accounts of encounters with beings claiming Anunnaki identity consistently describe entities who demonstrate knowledge spanning multiple historical periods, speak languages that have been dead for millennia, and display familiarity with events from widely separated time periods as if they were personal experiences. These characteristics suggest either immortal beings who have lived through vast spans of human history or entities capable of accessing memories from different temporal locations. Intelligence agency files contain reports of individuals who possess documentation tracing their identities through multiple historical periods, with records suggesting the same person has appeared across centuries using different names but maintaining consistent physical characteristics and behavioral patterns. Investigation into these cases frequently leads to bureaucratic dead ends, as if official records are being manipulated to obscure evidence of temporal anomalies. The concept of cyclical time, fundamental to many ancient cosmologies, may reflect understanding of temporal mechanics that exceeds modern human comprehension. Anunnaki texts describe history as occurring in cycles, with similar events recurring across vast time spans, as if reality itself follows predetermined patterns. This cyclical model could describe actual temporal mechanics accessible to beings possessing advanced understanding of space-time manipulation. Archaeological sites show evidence of construction and modification spanning periods far longer than any known human civilization could maintain. Megalithic monuments display layers of construction techniques that range from primitive stoneworking to precision engineering that exceeds modern capabilities, as if the same locations were continuously occupied and upgraded by beings whose temporal presence on Earth extends across geological ages. Quantum consciousness research suggests that awareness itself may transcend normal temporal boundaries, with consciousness potentially accessing information from past and future states through quantum entanglement. Effects in neural microtubules. Anunnaki entities might possess enhanced quantum consciousness capabilities that allow them to experience multiple temporal states simultaneously, providing access to knowledge from across vast spans of time. The preservation of technological knowledge across supposed dark ages and civilizational collapses suggests hidden continuity maintained by entities whose lifespans exceed normal human limitations. Advanced engineering principles, mathematical knowledge, and scientific understanding repeatedly re-emerge in human civilization after periods when such knowledge should have been lost, indicating preservation by beings who maintain consistency across multiple human generations. Time paradox phenomena reported in conjunction with UFO encounters include witnesses experiencing temporal displacement, missing time intervals that cannot be accounted for through normal psychological mechanisms, and memories of events that seem to occur outside normal temporal sequence. These effects suggest interaction with beings who operate according to different temporal parameters than normal human experience. Government chrononautics research programs study possibilities for temporal manipulation and time travel applications, with classified projects investigating whether advanced civilizations might possess capabilities for retroactive historical influence. The investment of significant resources in temporal research suggests official awareness that some entities may already possess time manipulation capabilities that could affect national security through historical intervention. Mathematical models of higher dimensional physics propose that beings existing in dimensions beyond normal spacetime could appear to possess godlike capabilities from lower dimensional perspectives. Anunnaki entities might exist in temporal dimensions that allow them to access multiple points in human history simultaneously, making them appear immortal while actually existing outside the temporal framework that constrains human experience. The question of whether Anunnaki represent immortal beings or time travelers may be meaningless from their perspective advanced. Entities might possess capabilities that transcend both limitations. Their apparent ability to influence human development across millennia, combined with demonstration of knowledge that spans vast temporal periods, suggests beings whose relationship with time itself differs fundamentally from human experience. Whether through biological immortality, technological time manipulation, or existence in higher dimensional space, the Anunnaki seem to operate according to temporal principles that human science is only beginning to understand. Beneath the marble floors of the Vatican archives, in temperature-controlled vaults that house humanity's most sensitive historical documents, researchers have discovered correspondence between medieval popes and entities whose identities remain carefully obscured in coded language. These letters describe guidance received during crucial historical moments, the timing of crusades, the placement of cathedrals, the coordination of educational institutions, all apparently orchestrated by advisors whose knowledge of human psychology and geopolitical dynamics exceeded anything available through normal human intelligence. The pattern of hidden influence extends far beyond religious institutions into the secular power structures that have shaped human civilization. Banking houses established during the Renaissance maintain archives describing financial strategies that span centuries, implementing economic policies that seem designed to guide human development along specific trajectories rather than simply generate profit. These long-term financial manipulations suggest coordination by entities whose temporal perspective encompasses far more than normal human lifespans. Archaeological investigation of major historical events reveals evidence of coordination that exceeds the communication capabilities supposedly available during their respective time periods. The simultaneous development of similar technologies across isolated civilizations, the coordinated timing of political upheavals that occurred before rapid communication methods existed, and the precise execution of complex strategies that required information about distant events, all suggest management by entities possessing global surveillance and communication capabilities. Intelligence analysis of historical documents has identified recurring patterns in the timing and execution of major civilizational transitions. The fall of empires, the rise of new technologies, and the emergence of revolutionary movements show characteristics of coordinated management rather than natural historical development. Key historical figures often received crucial information through sources that remain unidentified in preserved records, suggesting guidance from entities who preferred to remain hidden while influencing human events. The development of educational institutions follows patterns that suggest central planning by entities concerned with controlling the dissemination of knowledge to human populations. Universities, libraries, and research facilities were established according to geographical and temporal distributions that seemed designed to manage the pace of human intellectual development. The curriculum taught at these institutions often excluded knowledge that appeared in earlier historical periods, as if certain information was deliberately withheld during specific developmental phases. Military historians have identified anomalies in the conduct of major wars that suggest intervention by entities possessing superior strategic intelligence. Battle outcomes that should have been determined by logistics, numbers, and tactical superiority sometimes resulted in victories for forces that appeared to receive information about enemy plans before those plans were implemented. The timing and coordination of military campaigns across vast geographical areas often exceeded the communication capabilities available to human commanders. Scientific breakthrough patterns show characteristics of managed information release rather than natural discovery through research progression. Major technological advances often occurred when human civilization reached specific developmental thresholds, as if advanced knowledge was being released according to predetermined schedules. The simultaneous discovery of identical innovations by researchers working in isolation suggests coordination by entities monitoring global scientific progress. Economic analysis reveals financial manipulation spanning centuries, with market interventions that appear designed to fund specific historical developments while preventing others from receiving adequate resources. The flow of capital toward particular technological research programs, political movements, and cultural institutions suggests coordination by entities whose economic influence transcends national boundaries and normal temporal limitations. Archaeological evidence from sites associated with major historical transitions contains artifacts that suggest the presence of advisors possessing technology far beyond what human civilization had achieved during those periods. Precision manufactured objects, advanced metallurgical techniques, and construction methods that required engineering knowledge, not formally developed until much later, all point to supervision by beings with access to advanced technological capabilities. The preservation and transmission of certain knowledge across supposed dark ages and civilizational collapses indicates hidden continuity maintained by entities immune to the factors that disrupted normal human institutions. Mathematical principles, astronomical knowledge, and engineering techniques repeatedly re-emerged in human civilization with accuracy that suggests preservation by sources unaffected by the social upheavals that should have destroyed such information. Modern geopolitical analysis reveals decision-making patterns among world leaders that suggest access to information sources beyond normal intelligence capabilities. International policy coordination often anticipates events before they occur, while long-term strategic planning implements objectives that span multiple generations of political leadership. The consistency of certain policy directions across supposedly independent governments suggests guidance from entities whose influence transcends national sovereignty. Diplomatic archives contain references to advisors and consultants whose identities cannot be verified through normal historical research. These mysterious figures appear during crucial negotiations, provide solutions to seemingly intractable problems, and disappear from records after their interventions prove successful. Their knowledge of international law, cultural psychology, and strategic planning often exceeds the expertise available through human education. Financial records from major historical transitions reveal funding sources that cannot be traced through conventional banking systems. Revolutionary movements, technological research programs, and cultural institutions often received substantial resources from donors whose identities remain hidden, despite extensive archival research. The coordination of funding across multiple countries and time periods suggests management by entities with access to financial resources beyond normal accumulation methods. The question that haunts historians is whether human civilization has ever truly been independent or has always operated under hidden management by entities whose agenda for human development remains concealed behind the illusion of human self-determination. The precision with which historical events have been coordinated, the consistency of developmental patterns across isolated cultures, and the systematic nature of technological advancement all suggest guidance from sources possessing knowledge and capabilities far beyond anything available through normal human intelligence. If the hidden hand of history belongs to the Anunnaki or their allies, the implications extend far beyond academic historical research into contemporary global affairs. Current international relations, economic policies, and technological development may represent continuation of management systems established millennia ago by beings whose ultimate objectives for human civilization remain as mysterious as their methods of influence. The possibility that human history has been carefully orchestrated raises profound questions about human agency and the true nature of the civilization we believe ourselves to have created through our own efforts. Dr. Elena Vasquez first noticed the anomaly while reviewing magnetometer data from the remote Atacama Desert site. The readings showed a perfect geometric pattern buried beneath 20 feet of accumulated sand, too regular to be natural, too precise to be coincidental. What her team excavated over the following months challenged every assumption about prehistoric human capabilities and raised questions that conventional archaeology could not answer. The stele stood in perfect alignment with magnetic north, arranged in a configuration that created a massive geometric mandala when viewed from above. Each monolith was carved from a single piece of black granite containing mineral compositions, not found anywhere in the surrounding geological formations. The stones had been transported from quarries over 400 miles away, across terrain that would challenge modern heavy equipment, then positioned with surveying accuracy that required sophisticated mathematical knowledge. Carbon dating of organic material found in the installation as foundation layers placed construction at approximately 12,000 years ago, predating any known civilization capable of such engineering precision. The site existed during the last ice age, when the area was covered by glacial formations that should have made construction impossible. Yet the stele showed no signs of glacial scarring or displacement, as if they had been installed after the ice receded through methods that left no trace in the geological record. Each monolith bore inscriptions in a script that resembled no known ancient writing system. The symbols combined geometric patterns with representations of celestial objects, creating mathematical relationships that described astronomical phenomena observable only through advanced telescopic equipment. The inscriptions included star charts accurate to within minutes of arc, predicting planetary alignments that would not occur for thousands of years, and mathematical constants that human science had not discovered until the modern era. Ground-penetrating radar revealed that each stela was connected to an underground network of chambers and tunnels extending hundreds of meters in all directions. The subsurface architecture created a complex pattern of electromagnetic resonances that could be detected using sensitive equipment from considerable distances. The installation appeared to function as a massive technological device rather than a simple monument, with purposes that remained unclear to the research team. Electromagnetic measurements around the site recorded anomalous readings that defied conventional physics. Compass needles spun erratically near the stele, while metal objects placed within the stone circle exhibited temporary magnetization that persisted for hours after removal. Electronic equipment frequently malfunctioned in the vicinity, with digital cameras producing images containing geometric light patterns not visible to the naked eye. Local indigenous populations maintained oral traditions describing the site as a place where sky people landed, with detailed accounts of beings who emerged from flying objects to erect the stone circle during ancient times. These traditions included specific descriptions of the construction, process methods involving acoustic levitation, and light-based stone-cutting techniques that matched no known primitive technology, but corresponded to theoretical advanced engineering methods. The most puzzling discovery emerged during careful measurement of the stele's positions. The stone arrangement created sightlines that aligned with star positions from 12,000 years ago, but also incorporated geometric relationships that would only become significant during astronomical events scheduled to occur in the current century. The installation seemed designed by entities who possessed knowledge spanning vast temporal periods, encoding information relevant to widely separated time periods. Soil analysis around each monolith revealed trace elements not naturally occurring on Earth isotopic signatures associated with meteoritic material, but in concentrations too high to result from normal cosmic dust accumulation. The exotic material appeared to have been deliberately incorporated into the site's foundation, possibly to enhance the electromagnetic properties that the installation demonstrated. International archaeological authorities quietly classified the Atacama site under national security provisions, restricting access to a small group of researchers whose findings remain unpublished, despite their significance for understanding prehistoric human capabilities. Government interest in the site extends beyond academic archaeology, with military personnel conducting classified studies of the electromagnetic phenomena and their potential applications. Similar installations have been discovered at remote locations across 6 continents, always displaying identical construction techniques, comparable electromagnetic anomalies, and the same mysterious inscriptions describing advanced astronomical knowledge. The global distribution of these sites suggests coordination by entities possessing worldwide influence and consistent technological capabilities, operating according to a plan that spans multiple millennia. The Atacama stelae represent tangible evidence that human prehistory contains elements that conventional archaeology cannot explain through accepted models of gradual cultural development. The precision of construction, the advanced knowledge encoded in the inscriptions, and the sophisticated electromagnetic properties all point to involvement by entities possessing capabilities far beyond what primitive human civilizations could have achieved through independent development. Dr. Vasquez's research team has documented over 200 similar sites worldwide, creating a network of prehistoric installations that demonstrates global coordination by unknown entities during humanity's earliest developmental period. The consistency of construction techniques and electromagnetic properties across sites separated by thousands of miles suggests these installations were created according to standardized specifications by beings with access to advanced technology and global transportation capabilities. The implications extend beyond archaeology into contemporary technology development, as the electromagnetic principles demonstrated by the ancient installations could revolutionize energy generation, communication systems, and transportation technologies. The question facing researchers is whether modern rediscovery of these principles represents independent human innovation or guided rediscovery of technologies that were temporarily withheld from human civilization by entities who understood their significance better than contemporary science.
High above the Arctic ice sheets, where research aircraft equipped with ice-penetrating radar probe the secrets locked in millennia-old ice. Scientists have discovered something that challenges conventional understanding of Earth's climate history. Deep within ice cores dating back 450,000 years, atmospheric composition data reveals patterns that suggest artificial manipulation rather than natural climate variation. The chemical signatures indicate periodic intervention in Earth's atmospheric systems by entities possessing technology capable of planetary-scale environmental modification. Sumerian texts describe the Anunnaki as beings whose homeworld, Nibiru, suffered from atmospheric degradation that required ongoing intervention to maintain habitability. According to these accounts, the mining of gold from Earth served not merely economic purposes, but environmental ones. The dispersal of gold particles in Nibiru's upper atmosphere to create a protective layer against harmful solar radiation. This planetary engineering project required massive quantities of precious metals, explaining the industrial-scale mining operations that Anunnaki supposedly established on Earth. The relationship between gold mining and climate manipulation becomes significant when we examine Earth's own atmospheric chemistry during periods associated with Anunnaki activity. Ice core samples from these periods show elevated levels of metallic particles that should not occur naturally, combined with atmospheric gas compositions that indicate artificial intervention in global climate systems. The timing of these interventions correlates with major shifts in human civilization, suggesting that Earth's climate may have been deliberately modified to facilitate human development. Archaeological evidence from ancient Mesopotamia reveals advanced understanding of atmospheric science that should not have been available to Bronze Age civilizations. Babylonian texts contain mathematical models describing atmospheric circulation patterns, the relationship between solar activity and climate variation, and techniques for modifying weather systems through manipulation of atmospheric chemistry. This knowledge appears fully developed rather than gradually acquired, suggesting transfer from sources possessing superior understanding of planetary climate systems. Modern climate research has identified periods of rapid atmospheric change that occurred too quickly to result from natural processes. These transitions show characteristics of technological intervention, precise targeting of specific atmospheric components. Simultaneous changes across multiple geographical regions, and modification patterns that follow mathematical relationships rather than chaotic natural processes. The interventions appear designed to optimize Earth's climate for human habitation during crucial developmental periods. Geological evidence suggests that Earth's climate has been artificially stabilized throughout human civilization's existence, preventing natural variations that would have made agricultural development impossible. The absence of expected ice ages, the moderation of volcanic winter events, and the prevention of asteroid impact effects all point to intervention by entities possessing technology capable of planetary environmental management. Satellite surveillance of global weather patterns reveals anomalies that suggest ongoing climate manipulation using technology beyond current human capabilities. Atmospheric composition changes that occur simultaneously across vast geographical areas, weather modification effects that follow geometric patterns, and electromagnetic phenomena associated with unusual weather events all point to artificial intervention in Earth's climate systems. The historical record of civilizational collapses often coincides with periods when climate manipulation appears to have been withdrawn, allowing natural climate variation to resume. The collapse of the Bronze Age civilization, the fall of various empires, and periods of global cooling all correlate with cessations in the artificial atmospheric interventions detected in geological records. These patterns suggest that climate stability depends on ongoing technological intervention by entities who can withdraw their support when human civilization fails to meet their expectations. Ancient engineering projects show evidence of construction techniques that required detailed knowledge of future climate conditions, drainage systems, architectural orientations, and agricultural installations were designed to accommodate climate patterns that would not manifest until centuries after construction. This foreknowledge of climate trends suggests access to information about planned environmental modifications or technological capabilities for predicting long-term climate cycles. The phenomenon of sudden climate reversals during historical periods challenges conventional understanding of atmospheric dynamics. Rapid transitions from ice ages to warming periods, the sudden termination of drought cycles, and the prevention of predicted cooling events all show characteristics of technological intervention rather than natural climate variation. The precision and timing of these interventions suggest coordination by entities, monitoring human civilization's needs for specific environmental conditions. Modern geoengineering research has revealed techniques for atmospheric modification that match ancient descriptions of divine weather control, solar radiation management, atmospheric aerosol injection, and ionospheric heating technologies could theoretically produce the kind of global climate effects that geological records suggest have been occurring throughout human history. The rapid development of these technologies raises questions about whether human innovation represents independent discovery or guided rediscovery of techniques that have been used on Earth for millennia. Ice core data from the last glacial maximum reveals atmospheric interventions that prevented complete planetary cooling during periods when natural climate cycles should have produced conditions incompatible with human survival. The prevention of runaway cooling effects, the maintenance of minimum atmospheric oxygen levels, and the stabilization of ocean chemistry all point to management by entities possessing planetary-scale environmental technology. The correlation between solar activity cycles and artificial atmospheric interventions suggests coordination between climate management systems and astronomical events. Modifications to Earth's atmospheric chemistry appear timed to coincide with solar maximum and minimum periods, as if the interventions are designed to compensate for solar variation effects that would otherwise destabilize Earth's climate. This coordination implies monitoring and management systems that integrate astronomical observation with planetary environmental control. Contemporary climate change patterns show characteristics that suggest both natural variation and ongoing technological intervention. The complex interactions between greenhouse gas accumulation, atmospheric aerosol effects, and electromagnetic phenomena indicate multiple influencing factors beyond simple human industrial activity. Some climate researchers have identified modification signatures that match theoretical geoengineering techniques, suggesting that climate management systems remain active in the modern era. The question facing climate researchers is whether Earth's apparently stable climate throughout human civilization represents natural planetary conditions or artificial maintenance by entities possessing environmental modification technology. If the Anunnaki or their successors continue to manage Earth's climate systems, contemporary climate change may represent either failure of these management systems or deliberate modification designed to guide human civilization toward specific developmental objectives. The implications for climate policy and environmental planning could be profound if human understanding of Earth's climate system fails to account for ongoing technological intervention by non-human entities.
Deep in the radio telescope arrays of Arecibo and the Very Large Array astronomers have detected gravitational anomalies that suggest the presence of massive objects in the outer solar system, objects whose orbital characteristics match ancient descriptions of Nibiru, the supposed homeworld of the Anunnaki. These contemporary astronomical observations provide scientific context for claims that have been dismissed as pseudoscience, raising the possibility that ancient texts preserved accurate information about celestial mechanics that exceeds prehistoric civilizations' supposed observational capabilities. Zechariah Sitchin has controversial translations of Sumerian cuneiform tablets describe Nibiru as a planet with an extremely elongated orbit that brings it into proximity with Earth every 3,600 years. Mainstream astronomy has rejected these claims due to orbital mechanics calculations, suggesting that such a trajectory would be gravitationally unstable. However, recent discoveries of trans-Neptunian objects with unusual orbital characteristics have forced astronomers to reconsider the possibilities for stable long-period orbits in the outer solar system. The discovery of Planet 9, a hypothetical massive planet whose gravitational influence appears to explain the clustering of distant Kuiper Belt objects, demonstrates that our solar system may harbor large bodies not yet directly observed. Calculations suggest Planet 9 possesses a mass 5 to 10 times that of Earth, follows an elongated orbit that takes it 20 times farther from the Sun than Neptune. While these characteristics don't precisely match Sitchin's descriptions of Nibiru, they establish precedent for massive planets in highly elliptical orbits. Ancient Mesopotamian astronomical texts contain mathematical calculations that accurately describe celestial mechanics requiring observational data spanning thousands of years. The precision of planetary position predictions, the accurate measurement of precession cycles, and the detailed knowledge of orbital periods for objects, invisible to naked eye observation, all suggest access to information that could not have been gathered through primitive observational methods available during the supposed time of composition. Modern infrared astronomy surveys have identified numerous brown dwarfs and rogue planets in the solar system's outer regions, objects too dim to detect through conventional optical telescopes, but possessing sufficient mass to influence the orbital dynamics of known planets. Some of these objects display characteristics that could match ancient descriptions of Nibiru, including highly elliptical orbits and composition that would make them appear reddish when approaching the inner solar system. The phenomenon of orbital resonance, where gravitational interactions create stable patterns between celestial bodies, could theoretically maintain long-period orbits like those attributed to Nibiru. Recent computer simulations have demonstrated that massive planets can maintain stable elliptical orbits even when their paths intersect the orbital planes of other planets, provided the timing relationships create resonance patterns that prevent close encounters. Babylonian astronomical records describe periodic appearances of a winged disk in the sky, a celestial object associated with divine authority and displaying characteristics that suggest a highly reflective surface and an elongated apparent shape. These observations correlate with predictions for how a large planet with a reflective atmosphere would appear during close approach to Earth, supporting the possibility that ancient astronomers documented actual planetary observations. The timing of civilizational upheavals throughout human history shows correlation with astronomical cycles that could correspond to Nibiru's supposed orbital period. Major climate changes, the collapse of empires, and technological leaps forward often occur in patterns that repeat every 3,600 years, suggesting influence by celestial mechanics beyond the known planetary influences that affect Earth's environment. Gravitational wave detectors have identified anomalous signals that could indicate massive objects moving through the outer solar system. While these signals remain unexplained by conventional astronomical models, they display characteristics consistent with the gravitational effects of large planetary bodies following highly eccentric orbits. The frequency and amplitude of these gravitational waves could theoretically be produced by objects matching ancient descriptions of Nibiru size and orbital characteristics. Archaeological evidence from sites associated with Anunnaki activity shows construction alignments that incorporate astronomical information about celestial objects not visible from Earth during the supposed construction periods. These alignments suggest that builders possessed knowledge of planetary positions and orbital mechanics that could only have been obtained through advanced astronomical observation or information provided by entities with access to space-based observational capabilities. The influence of massive outer solar system objects on Earth's geological activity could explain periodic catastrophes described in ancient texts as divine interventions. Gravitational perturbations during close planetary approaches could trigger seismic activity, volcanic eruptions, and climate instability that would appear to primitive observers as supernatural events while actually resulting from natural astronomical phenomena. Modern spacecraft exploration of the outer solar system has encountered anomalous gravitational effects that suggest the presence of undiscovered massive objects. Pioneer spacecraft experienced unexplained acceleration changes during their journeys beyond Neptune, while Voyager probes detected gravitational anomalies that could not be explained by known planetary masses. These observations support the possibility that significant gravitational sources remain undiscovered in the solar system's outer reaches. The recent discovery of interstellar objects like Oumuamua passing through the solar system demonstrates that space contains numerous large bodies following unusual orbital trajectories. The characteristics displayed by these objects' elongated shapes, reflective surfaces, and trajectories that suggest artificial modification match ancient descriptions of divine vehicles and raise questions about whether some supposed interstellar objects might actually be returning components of our own solar system. Theoretical astrophysics has established that planetary migration could have significantly altered the solar system as architecture during its early formation. Large planets could have been ejected into distant orbits or captured from other stellar systems, creating the kind of complex orbital dynamics that could support objects like Nibiru while remaining undetected by conventional astronomical surveys. These migration scenarios provide plausible mechanisms for the existence of planets matching ancient astronomical descriptions. The question facing contemporary astronomy is whether ancient texts preserve accurate observational data about solar system objects that remain undiscovered by modern science, or if the correlations between historical accounts and theoretical possibilities represent coincidence. If Nibiru or similar objects exist and maintain the orbital characteristics described in Sumerian texts, their periodic approaches to Earth could explain cyclical patterns in human civilization, climate variation, and technological development that suggest external influence on terrestrial affairs. The implications for understanding both human history and solar system dynamics could revolutionize our comprehension of Earth's relationship with cosmic forces that transcend terrestrial experience. In the pristine laboratories of the Human Genome Project, where DNA sequencers unravel the molecular code of human existence, geneticists have encountered anomalies that challenge fundamental assumptions about human evolution. The human genetic code contains sequences that appear to have been artificially inserted rather than naturally evolved. Segments of DNA that show signs of deliberate engineering by entities possessing understanding of genetics far beyond what evolutionary processes should have produced. The most significant anomaly lies in what researchers term junk DNA, the 95% of human genetic material that appears to serve no biological function. Unlike other species, where non-coding DNA shows patterns consistent with evolutionary accumulation of random mutations, human junk DNA displays characteristics of compressed information storage. Some geneticists propose that these sequences represent dormant genetic programs designed to be activated under specific conditions or through technological intervention. Human chromosome 2 presents the clearest evidence of artificial genetic manipulation. This chromosome appears to be the result of two separate primate chromosomes fused together, creating a genetic structure unique among Earth species. The fusion site contains telomere sequences in locations where they should not naturally occur, suggesting deliberate genetic engineering rather than evolutionary accident. The fusion reduced human chromosome pairs from 48 to 46, creating reproductive barriers between humans and other primates, while maintaining genetic stability within the human population. Comparative analysis between human and primate genetics reveals insertion sequences that have no apparent evolutionary precursor. These genetic segments appear suddenly in the human lineage without gradual development through intermediate species. The complexity and functionality of these insertions suggests that they were added by entities possessing advanced knowledge of genetic engineering principles rather than accumulated through random mutation and natural selection. The human brain's rapid evolutionary development presents another genetic puzzle that challenges conventional evolutionary timelines. The neurological complexity required for advanced language, abstract reasoning, and consciousness appears to have developed far too quickly for natural evolutionary processes. Genetic analysis suggests that human cognitive capabilities result from specific genetic modifications that enhanced neural development beyond what primate genetics would naturally produce. Modern genetic research has identified regulatory sequences in human DNA that control gene expression patterns not found in any other terrestrial species. These regulatory mechanisms appear designed to limit the expression of certain genetic capabilities, as if human genetic potential has been deliberately constrained. Some researchers suggest that dormant capabilities could be activated through targeted genetic therapy, potentially revealing abilities that were engineered into human genetics but suppressed to maintain population control. The phenomenon of genetic activation in certain human bloodlines provides evidence that latent capabilities exist within normal human genetics. Individuals displaying enhanced cognitive abilities, unusual longevity, or apparent psychic phenomena often carry specific genetic markers that suggest activation of normally dormant genetic sequences. These activations appear to occur spontaneously in certain family lines, possibly triggered by environmental factors or genetic switches that respond to specific stimuli. Analysis of ancient DNA recovered from archaeological sites reveals genetic variations in early human populations that do not match contemporary human genetics. Some ancient specimens display genetic sequences that appear more complex than modern human genetics, suggesting that genetic capabilities may have been reduced rather than enhanced during human evolutionary history. This genetic regression contradicts conventional models of evolutionary advancement through increased complexity. The rapid global spread of modern humans appears to have involved genetic modifications that enabled adaptation to diverse environmental conditions far more quickly than evolutionary processes should allow. Human populations developed distinctive characteristics suited to different climates, altitudes, and dietary requirements in time frames measured in thousands rather than hundreds of thousands of years. This accelerated adaptation suggests guided genetic modification rather than natural selection. Mitochondrial DNA analysis reveals that all modern humans descend from a remarkably small population, possibly as few as a few thousand individuals who lived approximately 70,000 years ago. This genetic bottleneck corresponds to the time frame when genetic modifications would have been implemented according to ancient Sumerian accounts. The uniformity of human mitochondrial genetics suggests that genetic modification affected a limited population that subsequently became the ancestors of all modern humans. Contemporary genetic therapy research has achieved modifications of human genetics that mirror capabilities described in ancient texts as divine gifts. Gene therapy can now enhance immune system function, extend cellular lifespan, and even modify neurological development in ways that produce enhanced cognitive abilities. The ease with which modern technology can accomplish genetic modifications suggests that ancient genetic engineering programs could have achieved similar results using more advanced techniques. The phenomenon of genetic memory, where individuals display knowledge or capabilities inherited from ancestral experiences, appears in human populations with frequency that exceeds statistical probability. These inherited memories often involve technical knowledge, linguistic capabilities, or behavioral patterns that could not have been learned through normal cultural transmission. Genetic memory suggests that information can be encoded in DNA sequences and transmitted across generations through biological inheritance. Epigenetic research has revealed that environmental factors can activate or deactivate genetic sequences, effectively switching capabilities on or off without altering the underlying DNA code. This mechanism could theoretically allow genetic modifications to remain dormant until triggered by specific conditions, explaining how ancient genetic programming might become active in contemporary human populations when appropriate activation signals are encountered. The consistency of genetic anomalies across human populations worldwide suggests that genetic modifications were implemented systematically rather than randomly. All major human ethnic groups display the same fundamental genetic architecture, with variations that appear to be intentional modifications for specific environmental adaptation, rather than random evolutionary divergence. This uniformity implies coordination by entities possessing global perspective and advanced genetic engineering capabilities. Synthetic biology research has demonstrated that genetic codes can be designed to include information storage capabilities far beyond simple protein coding. DNA can theoretically store vast amounts of data in compressed formats, potentially including technical knowledge, historical information, or even consciousness patterns. The apparent information storage capabilities of human junk DNA suggest that human genetics may contain encoded information placed there by entities who understood DNA as potential as an information medium. The question facing genetic researchers is whether human DNA represents natural, evolutionary development or a sophisticated genetic engineering project implemented by entities possessing advanced biotechnology. The evidence for artificial genetic modification is compelling, but the implications challenge fundamental assumptions about human origins and our relationship with intelligence that exceeds apparent human capabilities. If humans are indeed genetically modified beings, the dormant capabilities encoded in our DNA may represent potentials that could be activated through technological intervention, potentially revealing the true scope of abilities that our genetic creators intended us to possess. In the climate-controlled archives beneath the University of Pennsylvania, where thousands of cuneiform tablets rest in carefully cataloged silence, linguists have discovered patterns in ancient Sumerian that challenge every assumption about the natural development of human language. Sumerian appears not as a primitive communication system gradually evolving toward sophistication, but as a fully formed linguistic technology possessing complexity that exceeds many modern languages. The mathematical precision of its grammatical structures and the conceptual sophistication of its vocabulary suggest design by entities whose understanding of communication transcended normal human linguistic capabilities. Sumerian cuneiform represents humanity's first written language, yet it displays characteristics that should have required centuries of developmental refinement. The writing system incorporates multiple layers of meaning: literal, metaphorical, mathematical, and astronomical, that can be decoded simultaneously from the same text. This multidimensional information encoding resembles modern computer programming languages more than primitive communication attempts, suggesting that writing itself may have been introduced to humanity as advanced information technology rather than gradually developed through cultural evolution. Linguistic analysis reveals that Sumerian possesses no apparent ancestral language from which it could have evolved. Unlike Indo-European or Semitic language families, that show clear developmental relationships between related languages. Sumerian appears isolated, a fully sophisticated language system with no primitive precursors. This linguistic orphan status suggests that Sumerian may have been introduced to human civilization by entities who created it as a communication tool rather than allowing it to develop naturally through cultural processes. The vocabulary of Sumerian contains technical terminology for concepts that should not have existed in Bronze Age civilizations. Precise terms for astronomical phenomena, mathematical operations, metallurgical processes, and biological concepts demonstrate knowledge that exceeds what primitive societies could have developed through independent observation and experimentation. The existence of technical vocabulary implies access to advanced knowledge that required instruction by entities possessing scientific understanding far beyond human achievement during Sumerian civilization, as supposed a time frame. Comparative analysis between Sumerian and other ancient languages reveals consistent patterns of knowledge transfer that suggest coordination by common sources. Egyptian hieroglyphics, Chinese pictographs, and Mesoamerican writing systems all incorporate similar organizational principles and conceptual frameworks despite developing in geographically isolated regions. The consistency of linguistic structures across independent writing systems implies guidance by entities who understood universal principles of effective communication and information storage. Modern linguistic research has identified acoustic properties in ancient Sumerian that suggest the language was designed for optimal neural processing and memory retention. The phonetic patterns, rhythmic structures, and harmonic relationships in Sumerian speech create brainwave entrainment effects that enhance cognitive function and information absorption. These acoustic properties appear intentionally engineered rather than accidentally evolved, suggesting that Sumerian was designed as a consciousness enhancement tool as well as a communication medium. The mathematical relationships encoded in Sumerian grammatical structures mirror advanced information theory principles that were not formally developed until the digital age. The language incorporates error correction mechanisms, data compression techniques, and redundancy systems that ensure accurate information transmission across multiple generations of speakers. These features suggest that Sumerian was designed by entities who understood information theory at levels that exceed contemporary human communication technology. Archaeological evidence reveals that Sumerian cuneiform was taught to human scribes through standardized educational programs that appeared simultaneously across multiple city-states. The consistency of instruction methods, the uniformity of symbolic representations, and the coordinated implementation of writing systems suggest central planning by entities possessing resources and authority beyond any single human political organization. The rapid adoption of writing technology across Mesopotamian civilization implies that literacy was imposed from above rather than gradually developed through cultural innovation. Translation studies have revealed that many Sumerian texts contain multiple valid interpretations that become apparent only through advanced linguistic analysis. Technical manuals disguised as religious poetry, astronomical data encoded in mythological narratives, and genetic information hidden within creation stories all suggest that Sumerian literature was designed to preserve advanced knowledge in forms that could be transmitted across generations while remaining incomprehensible to unauthorized readers. The phenomenon of linguistic degradation in post-Sumerian languages suggests that human linguistic capabilities may have been artificially enhanced during the Sumerian period and subsequently allowed to decline. Later languages show progressive loss of the sophisticated features that characterized Sumerian, as if advanced linguistic capabilities were withdrawn when direct supervision of human civilization ended. This degradation pattern implies that human linguistic potential exceeds apparent capabilities when enhanced by appropriate technological intervention. Contemporary neurological research has identified brain regions that appear specifically adapted for processing languages with Sumerian-type complexity, Yet these neural structures remain largely unused in speakers of modern languages. The existence of specialized linguistic processing capabilities that exceed current utilization suggests that human brains were modified to handle more sophisticated communication systems than contemporary humans normally encounter. This neural architecture could represent genetic modification designed to enable communication with entities possessing advanced linguistic capabilities. Acoustic analysis of reconstructed Sumerian pronunciation reveals that the language incorporates sound frequencies and harmonic patterns that produce measurable effects on human consciousness. Specific combinations of Sumerian words create brainwave patterns associated with enhanced memory, increased cognitive processing speed, and expanded sensory perception. These consciousness-altering effects suggest that Sumerian was designed as a technological tool for human cognitive enhancement rather than merely a communication medium. The preservation of Sumerian linguistic knowledge through secret traditions maintained by religious and scholarly institutions suggests that advanced linguistic capabilities were deliberately maintained despite the general degradation of human language systems. Certain ceremonial languages, ritual chants, and scholarly terminologies preserve Sumerian linguistic principles that continue to produce consciousness enhancement effects in contemporary practitioners. This preservation implies ongoing awareness of Sumerian-esque technological capabilities by institutions that maintain connection to its original sources. Artificial intelligence research into natural language processing has revealed that Sumerian incorporates organizational principles that enable more efficient information storage and retrieval than modern languages. Computer systems trained on Sumerian linguistic structures demonstrate enhanced pattern recognition, improved logical reasoning, and expanded memory capacity compared to systems trained on contemporary languages. These performance improvements suggest that Sumerian embodies optimal information processing principles that could enhance both human and artificial intelligence capabilities. The question facing linguistic researchers is whether human language represents natural, evolutionary development or technological enhancement by entities who understood communication principles far beyond current human knowledge. If Sumerian and related ancient languages represent advanced communication technology introduced to humanity by non-human sources, the implications extend beyond historical linguistics into contemporary cognitive science and artificial intelligence development. Recovery and application of ancient linguistic technologies could potentially enhance human consciousness and communication capabilities in ways that restore abilities that may have been deliberately limited when direct supervision of human civilization ended. In the fluorescent-lit corridors of corporate headquarters around the world, where decisions affecting millions of lives are made by individuals whose biographical details resist thorough investigation, employees occasionally notice colleagues whose behavior patterns suggest lifespans and knowledge bases that exceed normal human parameters. These individuals demonstrate institutional memory spanning decades, intimate knowledge of historical events they claim not to have experienced personally, and decision-making perspectives that seem to encompass timeframes far beyond typical human planning horizons. Intelligence agencies maintain classified databases documenting individuals whose background investigations reveal inconsistencies that cannot be explained through conventional identity verification methods. Birth certificates that trace to institutions with no remaining records, educational credentials from universities that cannot verify enrollment, and employment histories with organizations that have no recollection of the individual's service. These bureaucratic anomalies cluster around people who possess unusual influence in key sectors: finance, technology, government, and military research, suggesting systematic infiltration by entities whose true origins remain hidden. Psychological profiling of individuals suspected of non-human identity reveals cognitive patterns that differ significantly from normal human mental processing. Enhanced pattern recognition, apparent immunity to normal stress responses, and demonstrated knowledge of subjects never formally studied suggest neural architectures that exceed baseline human capabilities. Most significantly, these individuals often display emotional responses that seem calculated rather than spontaneous, as if they have learned to simulate human emotional patterns rather than experiencing them naturally. Corporate executives in major multinational organizations often demonstrate strategic thinking that spans multiple decades, implementing business plans that seem designed to achieve objectives extending far beyond normal profit maximization. Analysis of their decision-making patterns reveals knowledge of market trends, technological developments, and geopolitical changes that appear to be predicted with accuracy that exceeds normal business intelligence capabilities. The consistency of long-term planning across supposedly independent organizations suggests coordination by entities whose temporal perspective encompasses far more than human career spans. Medical examinations of individuals suspected of non-human identity reveal physiological anomalies that cannot be explained through known human genetic variation. Enhanced immune system function, unusual longevity, and resistance to diseases that typically affect human populations suggest biological characteristics that exceed normal human parameters. Some individuals display healing rates that approach regenerative capabilities, while others demonstrate metabolic efficiency that allows them to function on minimal nutrition and sleep. Educational institutions often employ faculty members whose knowledge of their subject areas appears to exceed what formal academic training should provide. These individuals demonstrate intimate familiarity with historical events, linguistic capabilities in languages they claim never to have studied, and technical expertise that suggests hands-on experience with technologies or methods that should not be available through academic research. Their teaching methods often produce exceptional results in students, as if they possess understanding of human learning processes that exceeds normal pedagogical training. Government agencies at the highest classification levels maintain personnel whose security clearance investigations reveal backgrounds that cannot be completely verified despite extensive resources devoted to background checks. These individuals often possess knowledge of classified programs spanning multiple decades, demonstrate familiarity with technologies that remain highly classified, and display access to information networks that seem to transcend normal compartmentalization protocols. Their influence often exceeds their apparent rank or position, suggesting authority derived from sources beyond normal governmental hierarchies. Financial institutions employ individuals whose investment strategies demonstrate foreknowledge of market events that should be unpredictable. These people make strategic financial decisions that anticipate geopolitical developments, technological breakthroughs, and economic shifts years before they manifest. Their success rates in long-term investments exceed statistical probability, suggesting access to information sources that provide superior predictive capabilities or direct knowledge of planned future events. Military research facilities include personnel whose technical expertise appears to exceed what formal education and career progression should provide. These individuals demonstrate intimate knowledge of advanced weapon systems, propulsion technologies, and communication methods that remain classified at the highest levels. Their contributions to research projects often involve insights that accelerate development timelines dramatically, as if they possess prior experience with technologies that officially do not exist. Social observation reveals that suspected non-human entities maintain careful social camouflage, but occasionally display behaviors that suggest different cultural backgrounds or social conditioning. Their interaction patterns show subtle differences to perfect adherence to social norms, emotional responses that appear slightly delayed or calculated, and knowledge of cultural references that extends beyond their apparent age or background. These behavioral anomalies become apparent only through careful observation by individuals trained in psychological assessment. Technology companies employ engineers and researchers whose innovative capabilities seem to exceed what formal training should provide. These individuals often produce breakthrough innovations that represent quantum leaps beyond incremental development, suggesting access to knowledge or principles not available through conventional research methods. Their patents and technical publications often describe methods that anticipate future technological needs rather than addressing current market demands. International organizations include diplomats and advisors whose negotiating skills and cultural knowledge exceed what normal human experience should provide. These individuals demonstrate intimate understanding of multiple cultures, languages, and political systems that suggests lifetimes of experience rather than academic study. Their diplomatic interventions often produce solutions to conflicts that seem intractable, as if they possess understanding of human psychology and social dynamics that transcends normal diplomatic training. The phenomenon of missing persons who return after extended absences with enhanced capabilities and knowledge suggests systematic recruitment or modification programs that remain hidden from public awareness. These individuals often display improved cognitive abilities, expanded technical knowledge, and psychological conditioning that makes them valuable assets for organizations requiring personnel with capabilities beyond normal human parameters. Their reintegration into society follows patterns that suggest coordination by entities possessing advanced human resource management capabilities. Surveillance technology has identified communication patterns among suspected non-human entities that suggest coordination through methods that remain undetectable to conventional intelligence gathering. These individuals maintain contact through channels that cannot be intercepted or decoded, coordinate activities across vast geographical distances, and demonstrate awareness of each other's actions without apparent communication. Their coordination capabilities suggest access to communication technologies that exceed publicly known capabilities. The question facing intelligence analysis is whether human institutions have been systematically infiltrated by entities whose true nature and objectives remain hidden behind carefully constructed human identities. The evidence suggests that individuals possessing capabilities beyond normal human parameters occupy positions of influence throughout human civilization, coordinating activities that may serve agendas extending far beyond apparent human interests. If these entities represent Anunnaki or their allies maintaining hidden supervision of human development, their continued presence could explain patterns of technological advancement, social control, and historical manipulation that shape human civilization according to objectives that remain concealed behind the facade of human self-governance. Beneath the limestone foundations of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where archaeological excavations are forbidden by religious and political authorities, ground-penetrating radar has detected chambers containing geometric structures that match no known architectural style. These underground installations incorporate acoustic properties and electromagnetic characteristics that suggest technological rather than purely religious purposes. Similar structures exist beneath other ancient sites worldwide: Giza, Stonehenge, Angkor Wat, creating a global network of installations that may have served as transportation hubs for beings possessing advanced travel technology. Sumerian texts describe gateways of the gods, through which the Anunnaki could travel instantly between distant locations, including their homeworld and various earthly installations. These accounts describe technological rather than mystical transportation devices that could fold space-time to create passage between distant points without conventional travel through intervening distance. The mathematical precision required for such technology exceeds anything human science has achieved, suggesting that ancient descriptions may preserve information about transportation methods that remain beyond contemporary human capability. Ziggurats represent the most visible examples of structures that may have functioned as Stargate installations. Their precise mathematical proportions, astronomical alignments, and internal chamber configurations suggest purposes beyond religious ceremony. Archaeological investigation has revealed that ziggurats incorporate materials with unusual electromagnetic properties, acoustic systems that could generate specific harmonic frequencies, and geometric relationships that mirror theoretical requirements for space-time manipulation devices. Modern physics has established theoretical foundations for technologies that could enable instantaneous travel between distant locations. Einstein-Rosen bridges, quantum entanglement effects, and exotic matter manipulation could theoretically create stable wormholes or dimensional gateways. While human technology cannot yet achieve such capabilities, the mathematical principles exist that could enable the kind of transportation methods described in ancient texts as divine abilities. Electromagnetic anomalies detected at ancient sites worldwide suggest the presence of technological installations that remain active despite their apparent age. Stone circles, megalithic monuments, and pyramid complexes all generate magnetic field variations that follow patterns associated with advanced technological systems rather than natural geological phenomena. The consistency of these electromagnetic signatures across sites built by supposedly independent civilizations suggests coordination by entities possessing standardized technology. Acoustic research at ancient sites has revealed that many structures were designed to generate specific sound frequencies that could produce altered states of consciousness in human subjects. However, some installations produce acoustic effects that exceed simple consciousness alteration sound patterns that create measurable changes in local space-time geometry. These acoustic effects could theoretically destabilize dimensional barriers, creating the kind of portal effects that ancient texts describe as methods for divine transportation. Archaeological investigation of sites associated with Stargate legends has uncovered construction techniques that require engineering knowledge exceeding ancient civilizations' supposed capabilities. Precision stone cutting, anti-seismic foundations, and electromagnetic shielding all suggest that these structures were designed to house technology that generated significant environmental effects. The engineering sophistication implies that portal installations required careful construction to contain forces that could be dangerous if not properly managed. Government research facilities studying anomalous phenomena maintain classified programs investigating portal technologies and dimensional manipulation. These programs study ancient sites, attempt to reverse engineer archaeological artifacts, and develop theoretical frameworks for achieving controlled space-time manipulation. The investment of significant resources in portal research suggests official awareness that such technologies may exist and could have strategic importance for national security. Witness accounts of portal phenomena at ancient sites describe effects that match theoretical predictions for stable wormhole activation. Observers report sudden appearance of luminous geometric forms, temporal displacement effects, and the materialization of beings who demonstrate knowledge of distant locations and events. These phenomena occur most frequently at sites with strong archaeological associations with divine transportation, suggesting that ancient portal installations may remain partially functional. Military research into exotic propulsion systems has achieved results that mirror ancient descriptions of divine transportation capabilities. Anti-gravity research, plasma field manipulation, and quantum vacuum engineering could theoretically produce technologies that eliminate the need for conventional transportation. The rapid advancement in these research areas suggests either remarkable scientific progress or recovery of principles that were known to ancient civilizations through non-human technology transfer. Satellite surveillance has identified geometric patterns at ancient sites that become apparent only from aerial perspectives, suggesting that these installations were designed by entities with access to flight technology. The precision of these patterns and their coordination across vast geographical distances implies planning and construction by beings who could move freely between distant locations, possibly using the same portal technologies that the installations were designed to house. International cooperation in portal research occurs through classified programs that transcend normal diplomatic boundaries, suggesting that governments recognize portal technology as having implications that exceed national interests. Joint research facilities study ancient artifacts, attempt to activate dormant installations, and develop protocols for managing portal phenomena should they become operational. The coordination of these efforts implies awareness that portal activation could have global consequences. Energy signatures detected at suspected portal sites match theoretical predictions for exotic matter, manipulation, and space-time distortion effects. These energy patterns occur in geometric configurations that suggest technological rather than natural origins, while displaying characteristics that exceed current human energy generation capabilities. The consistency of energy signatures across different sites suggests that portal installations operated according to standardized technological principles. Archaeological sites show evidence of sudden abandonment followed by systematic concealment, as if portal installations were deliberately deactivated and hidden when direct Anunnaki involvement in human affairs ended. The concealment involved sophisticated engineering to ensure that portal technology remained inaccessible to human civilizations until they achieved sufficient technological sophistication to use such systems safely. The question facing portal researchers is whether ancient Stargate installations remain dormant but functional, awaiting reactivation by entities who possess the technological knowledge to operate them safely. If the Anunnaki or their allies maintain the capability to reactivate these transportation networks, their return to active involvement in human affairs could occur with minimal advance warning. The implications for human civilization could be profound, as reactivation of ancient portal networks would provide non-human entities with unlimited mobility and access to every location on Earth, where their ancient installations remain hidden beneath layers of accumulated history. In the quiet corners of university psychology departments, where researchers study the deepest mechanisms of human consciousness, experiments have revealed that belief itself may be humanity's most powerful tool or most dangerous vulnerability. The human capacity for faith, hope, and conviction appears to transcend simple psychological states, creating measurable effects on physical reality that suggest consciousness possesses capabilities far beyond what materialist science acknowledges. This potential for belief to influence reality may explain why humanity's relationship with its alleged creators has always centered on questions of faith, rather than simple recognition of superior beings. The phenomenon of collective belief, creating observable effects, appears throughout human history, with civilizations achieving impossible feats through shared conviction that transcended rational limitations. The construction of megalithic monuments, the coordination of vast engineering projects, and the maintenance of complex societies all depended on collective faith in objectives that exceeded individual human capabilities. This pattern suggests that human consciousness, when properly focused through belief systems, can access capabilities that remain dormant in ordinary awareness states. Psychological analysis of individuals who claim contact with Anunnaki entities reveals that belief in such contact often produces measurable enhancements in cognitive function, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. Whether these encounters represent objective reality or powerful psychological experiences, the effects on human consciousness appear identical. Believers demonstrate expanded capabilities that enable achievements beyond their previous limitations. This suggests that the truth of Anunnaki existence may matter less than the human capacity to believe in the possibility of such existence. Religious studies have documented that belief systems centered on divine creators consistently produce civilizational advancements that exceed what the same populations achieve under purely secular organizational structures. Societies that maintain strong conviction in higher intelligences guiding human development often demonstrate innovation, social cooperation, and technological progress that suggests access to capabilities beyond normal human potential. The correlation between divine belief and civilizational achievement implies that faith itself may be a technology for accessing enhanced human potential. Quantum physics research has revealed that consciousness appears to play a fundamental role in determining physical reality, with observer effects influencing material systems at scales ranging from subatomic particles to macroscopic phenomena. The measurement problem in quantum mechanics suggests that conscious observation may literally create the reality being observed, implying that human belief systems could theoretically influence the physical world through quantum consciousness effects. Anthropological research into cargo cults and similar phenomena reveals that human populations can create technological advancement through belief in superior beings, even when direct contact with such beings remains unverified. Communities that develop strong conviction in the return of advanced entities often achieve organizational and technological capabilities that exceed their previous cultural limitations, suggesting that belief in divine intervention can actually produce effects resembling divine intervention. Neurological studies have identified brain regions that activate specifically during experiences of transcendent belief, producing measurable changes in cognitive processing that enable enhanced pattern recognition, creative problem-solving, and integration of complex information. These neural changes appear to unlock mental capabilities that remain inaccessible during normal consciousness states, suggesting that belief serves as a key for accessing dormant human potential rather than simply creating comforting illusions. Historical analysis reveals that civilizational cycles often correlate with periods of strong belief in divine guidance, followed by skeptical rejection of such guidance. Technological and cultural advances typically occur during periods of strong faith in higher intelligence, while civilizational decline corresponds to periods when such beliefs are abandoned in favor of purely materialist worldviews. This pattern suggests that belief in divine creators may be essential for accessing the enhanced human capabilities required to maintain advanced civilization. The placebo effect in medical research demonstrates that belief alone can produce measurable physiological changes, including healing that exceeds what biological systems should achieve through normal mechanisms. The power of belief to influence physical reality extends beyond psychological comfort to actual modification of biological processes, suggesting that consciousness possesses capabilities that transcend currently understood limitations of mind-matter interaction. Contemporary research into consciousness and reality has revealed that human perception actively constructs the experienced world rather than passively receiving objective information. The role of belief in shaping perception may literally determine what reality humans experience, suggesting that collective belief systems could theoretically create the conditions they expect to encounter. If sufficient numbers of humans believe in Anunnaki presence, such belief might facilitate actual contact through consciousness-mediated reality modification. Psychological warfare research has documented that populations' belief systems can be manipulated to produce specific behavioral outcomes, including enhanced cooperation, technological innovation, and acceptance of social changes that would otherwise be rejected. The systematic manipulation of human belief may represent a form of consciousness technology that enables indirect control of human civilization without requiring direct physical intervention by controlling entities. The phenomenon of self-fulfilling prophecy demonstrates that belief in future outcomes can create conditions that make those outcomes more likely to occur. Civilizational beliefs about divine return, technological advancement, or social transformation often create the psychological and social conditions necessary for such events to manifest, suggesting that prophecy may function as a technology for programming future reality through manipulation of present belief systems. Social psychology research reveals that human behavior becomes dramatically more cooperative and altruistic when individuals believe they are being observed by higher intelligences, even when no evidence of such observation exists. The mere belief in divine or advanced surveillance produces behavioral modifications that enhance social cooperation and technological advancement, suggesting that belief in Anunnaki observation could improve human civilization regardless of whether such observation actually occurs. Experimental studies in parapsychology have documented that human consciousness can influence physical systems through mechanisms that transcend known forces, with effects that become stronger when subjects possess deep conviction in their abilities. The correlation between belief strength and observable effects suggests that human consciousness possesses capabilities that can only be accessed through faith in their existence, implying that belief itself may be the key to unlocking dormant human potential. The question facing consciousness researchers is whether belief in divine creators represents accurate recognition of objective reality or powerful psychological technology for accessing enhanced human capabilities. If human consciousness possesses latent abilities that can only be activated through appropriate belief systems, then faith in Anunnaki guidance, whether or not such beings exist, may be essential for humanity to achieve its full potential. The test of belief may not be about determining objective truth, but about choosing belief systems that enable human consciousness to transcend its apparent limitations and access capabilities that could transform civilization in ways that fulfill the highest possibilities for human development. Maria Santos first noticed the pattern while analyzing missing persons reports for her doctoral thesis in criminology. Certain disappearances clustered around geographical locations that corresponded to ancient sites, areas where megalithic monuments, burial mounds, or archaeological ruins marked landscapes that local populations had considered sacred for millennia. These weren't random vanishings, but selective removals of individuals who possessed specific characteristics, unusual intelligence, rare genetic markers, or demonstrated abilities that exceeded normal human parameters. The files revealed a disturbing consistency across different time periods and geographical regions. Every few years, individuals would simply vanish from areas near ancient sites, leaving no trace despite extensive searches by local authorities and federal agencies. The missing persons shared common traits: above average intelligence, often with advanced degrees in sciences or engineering, genealogical connections to bloodlines claiming descent from ancient royal families, and frequently reports from family members describing the missing person's recent interest in historical mysteries or unexplained phenomena. Detective Sarah Mitchell had investigated 3 such disappearances near Serpent Mound in Ohio over a 15-year period. Each case involved brilliant individuals: a quantum physicist, a genetic researcher, and an archaeologist who had been conducting independent research into ancient civilizations. Security camera footage from the area showed all 3 approaching the monument, but none were ever seen leaving. Ground-penetrating radar surveys revealed no bodies, while search dogs lost the scent trails at specific points along the ancient earthwork. International intelligence agencies maintained classified databases tracking similar disappearances worldwide. The pattern extended across continents, with vanishings occurring near Stonehenge, the Giza complex, Angkor Wat, and dozens of other ancient sites. The consistency of disappearance patterns suggested coordination by entities possessing global reach and sophisticated surveillance capabilities. Most disturbing, some missing persons later reappeared years later with enhanced abilities, claiming to have no memory of their absence, but demonstrating knowledge and capabilities they had not possessed before their disappearance. Satellite surveillance of remote areas had identified structures that appeared to be concealed cities, built into landscapes in ways that made them invisible from ground level. These installations incorporated advanced camouflage technology with electromagnetic signatures that suggested the presence of large populations and sophisticated infrastructure hidden beneath seemingly natural terrain. The locations often corresponded to areas where ancient texts described divine dwelling places or hidden realms where gods maintained earthly residences. Dr. James Wright's research team at the Smithsonian had documented over 200 cases of individuals who claimed to have been taken to underground facilities where they encountered beings possessing advanced technology and extensive knowledge of human genetics. The witnesses described vast subterranean cities containing populations of both humans and entities that appeared human, but possessed subtle differences, enhanced physical capabilities, unusual longevity, and apparent immunity to diseases that typically affect human populations. The phenomenon of returned abductees presented intelligence agencies with individuals whose capabilities exceeded their previous limitations, while their memories of the enhancement process remained mysteriously blocked. Medical examinations revealed physiological modifications, enhanced immune systems, improved neural connectivity, and genetic changes that should have required advanced biotechnology to achieve. These modifications were always beneficial, suggesting that whatever entities were responsible for the disappearances possessed medical capabilities far beyond human achievement. Underground facilities discovered through remote sensing technology showed construction characteristics that exceeded known human engineering capabilities. These installations incorporated material science, environmental control systems, and power generation methods that suggested technological capabilities decades ahead of publicly acknowledged human achievement. The engineering sophistication implied that hidden cities had been constructed by entities possessing advanced knowledge or access to technologies that remained classified at the highest government levels. Local populations living near ancient sites often maintained oral traditions describing people who had been chosen by the Old Ones and taken to hidden places where they served the ancient gods. These traditions included detailed descriptions of selection criteria-specific bloodlines, demonstrated abilities, and psychological characteristics that made individuals suitable for unknown purposes. The consistency of these traditions across isolated cultures suggested shared historical experiences with entities that maintained ongoing recruitment programs. Intelligence analysis of disappearance patterns revealed that selections often coincided with periods of technological breakthrough or social crisis, as if entities responsible for the disappearances were monitoring human development and recruiting individuals with capabilities needed for specific projects. The timing suggested that hidden cities might serve as research facilities where selected humans were studying problems requiring advanced knowledge or capabilities beyond normal human limitations. Geological surveys of areas associated with hidden cities revealed subsurface structures that extended far deeper than surface installations suggested. Three-dimensional modeling indicated vast underground complexes containing multiple levels, transportation systems, and facilities that could house populations numbering in the thousands. The scale of these installations implied construction projects spanning decades or centuries, requiring resources and coordination beyond any known human organization. Genetic analysis of individuals claiming to be descendants of people taken to hidden cities revealed bloodline characteristics associated with enhanced cognitive abilities, unusual longevity, and resistance to genetic disorders. These genetic signatures appeared across multiple generations, suggesting that modifications made during disappearance periods were heritable and designed to create lasting improvements in human capabilities. The question that haunted researchers was whether the disappearances represented abduction by malevolent entities or recruitment by benevolent ones. The evidence suggested that selected individuals were being enhanced rather than harmed, possibly prepared for roles and projects that required capabilities beyond normal human limitations. If hidden cities truly existed and were operated by entities possessing advanced technology, the disappearances might represent ongoing efforts to prepare human populations for future challenges that would require enhanced capabilities to survive and thrive. Classified government documents revealed that some missing persons had been located and debriefed, but the information they provided remained sealed under national security provisions. These individuals reportedly described hidden civilizations that had existed parallel to surface human societies for millennia, maintaining advanced technology while remaining concealed from mainstream human awareness. Their accounts suggested that human civilization represented only a small portion of the intelligent life present on Earth, with hidden populations possessing capabilities and knowledge that far exceeded apparent human achievement. In the secured briefing rooms of the Pentagon, where officials with cosmic clearance levels discuss information that could reshape human understanding of reality, intelligence analysts have documented a pattern of accelerating disclosure that suggests carefully orchestrated revelation of non-human presence. Government agencies worldwide have begun releasing previously classified information about unidentified aerial phenomena, while simultaneously preparing psychological operations designed to ease public acceptance of paradigm-shifting revelations. The timing and coordination of these disclosure efforts suggest preparation for an announcement that could fundamentally alter human civilization as understanding of its place in the cosmos. Congressional hearings on UA phenomena have featured military witnesses providing testimony that was unthinkable just decades ago. Official acknowledgement that craft displaying impossible flight characteristics regularly operate in restricted airspace, demonstrating technology that exceeds human capabilities by centuries. The transformation from denial and ridicule to official recognition represents a carefully managed shift in policy that appears designed to prepare public consciousness for more significant revelations about non-human intelligence and its involvement in human affairs. International coordination of disclosure efforts indicates that preparation for revelation transcends national boundaries and suggests management by entities whose authority extends beyond terrestrial governments. The synchronization of policy changes across supposedly independent nations implies coordination by sources possessing global influence and understanding of psychological preparation required for civilizational transformation. The coordinated nature of disclosure suggests that the timing and content of revelations are being managed according to predetermined protocols. Scientific institutions have begun acknowledging possibilities they previously rejected, with mainstream researchers publishing studies that would have ended careers just years ago. The academic acceptance of consciousness research, parapsychological phenomena, and theoretical frameworks for exotic physics represents a systematic shift in intellectual climate that appears designed to provide scientific context for revelations that transcend conventional understanding of physical reality. Religious organizations have quietly prepared theological frameworks for acknowledging non-human intelligence while maintaining spiritual authority over human populations. Vatican astronomers study extraterrestrial life possibilities, while Protestant denominations develop doctrines that accommodate divine intervention through advanced beings who may have guided human spiritual development. The religious preparation for revelation suggests awareness that disclosure could challenge traditional theological concepts while potentially validating core spiritual beliefs about humanity's relationship with higher intelligence. Media preparation for revelation appears through increased coverage of UFO phenomena, ancient astronaut theories, and scientific speculation about extraterrestrial life. Entertainment industries have systematically introduced concepts of benevolent alien intervention, genetic manipulation by advanced beings, and ongoing contact between humans and non-human intelligence. This cultural conditioning suggests coordinated efforts to familiarize public consciousness with concepts that would previously have been rejected as impossible fantasy. Technological advancement patterns suggest preparation for integration with systems that exceed current human capabilities. The rapid development of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and exotic physics applications could represent reverse engineering of technologies that will soon be revealed as having non-human origins. The acceleration of human technological progress may be intended to prepare civilization for direct contact with entities whose technological capabilities far exceed apparent human achievement. Economic systems have been gradually restructured in ways that could accommodate the introduction of technologies that would revolutionize energy production, manufacturing, and resource distribution. Financial institutions have developed protocols for managing economic transitions that could result from disclosure of advanced technologies, while international monetary systems have been designed to remain stable despite technological disruptions that could render current economic models obsolete. Psychological preparation programs within government. Agencies train personnel for contact scenarios involving non-human intelligence, developing protocols for communication, negotiation, and cooperation with entities possessing superior capabilities. These training programs suggest official expectation that direct contact may occur under circumstances requiring prepared human representatives capable of conducting diplomatic relations with advanced non-human entities. Educational curricula have begun incorporating concepts that prepare younger generations for expanded understanding of human origins and cosmic relationships. Schools teach astronomy, genetics, and anthropology in ways that suggest human development may have involved influences beyond natural evolutionary processes. This educational preparation suggests that revelation may be targeted particularly at younger populations who can more easily adapt to paradigm shifting. Information about human origins and ongoing relationships with non-human intelligence. Intelligence analysis indicates that revelation timing may be coordinated with astronomical events, technological milestones, or social conditions that optimize public acceptance of paradigm-shifting information. The preparation appears designed to minimize psychological trauma and social disruption, while maximizing the probability that human civilization can successfully integrate new understanding of its cosmic relationships and responsibilities. International law development includes frameworks for managing contact with non-human intelligence, establishing protocols for sovereignty, resource rights, and diplomatic relations with entities whose capabilities and legal status transcend current international law concepts. The legal preparation suggests expectation that revelation will require new frameworks for managing relationships between human civilization and entities whose authority and capabilities may supersede terrestrial governments. Military preparation for revelation includes development of protocols for cooperation rather than conflict with entities possessing superior technological capabilities. Defense strategies focus on diplomatic engagement and beneficial cooperation rather than resistance to superior forces. This military preparation suggests official recognition that revealed entities are likely to be allies or guides rather than threats to human civilization. The acceleration of disclosure timing suggests that revelation may be imminent, possibly coordinated with conditions that make concealment no longer sustainable or beneficial for either human civilization or the entities responsible for ongoing observation and guidance. The systematic nature of preparation across multiple sectors of human civilization implies that revelation represents a planned transition rather than accidental exposure of previously hidden realities. The question facing analysts is whether coming revelation will represent first contact with previously unknown entities or acknowledgement of ongoing relationships with beings who have been present throughout human history. If the Anunnaki or their allies are preparing to end their period of concealment, the revelation could provide answers to humanity's deepest questions about origins, purpose, and cosmic relationships, while simultaneously opening new chapters in human development under direct rather than hidden guidance from entities whose knowledge and capabilities far exceed apparent human limitations. The night sky spreads wide, stars scattered like silent watchers. For millennia, stories of gods walking among humans have whispered through temples, carved into stone, and lingered in myths. If the Anunnaki remain, hidden in shadows or woven into bloodlines, the question rises, what do we do? Mainstream history paints humanity as self-made. Civilizations rose through ingenuity, war, and invention. Yet alternative voices suggest something deeper, unseen guidance, perhaps manipulation, threading through time. If such beings exist, humanity faces crossroads. Some would bow. Submission as familiar kings, emperors, and priests all claim divine authority. To serve might seem natural, offering stability in exchange for freedom. At what price would obedience demand? Others would resist. The impulse to rebel is equally human. From ancient uprisings to modern revolutions, resistance has defined progress. Yet rebellion against those with technology beyond imagination would not be simple. Would resistance ignite human unity or fracture civilization further? There is also the path of cooperation. Imagine a world where Anunnaki share wisdom, astronomy, medicine, energy far beyond oil or electricity. The hunger of deserts could end. Disease might fall silent, but trust would be fragile. Would their gifts uplift or bind us tighter under invisible chains? Another possibility whispers, denial. Perhaps many would look away. History shows humanity's ability to ignore what unsettles. The unexplained becomes myth. The strange is dismissed as coincidence. If Anunnaki live among us, perhaps the greatest human choice is to refuse acknowledgement, choosing comfort over truth. Each path reveals something about human nature. Submission reflects our longing for order. Rebellion reflects our hunger for freedom. Cooperation reflects hope. Denial reflects fear. Meanwhile, stories across cultures echo similar themes. The Sumerians wrote of gods who granted kingship. The Greeks spoke of titans and demigods. The Maya told of beings from the stars. Each tale reflects a negotiation between human and other. And always, the outcome depended on choice. If Anunnaki still walk among us, their motives remain uncertain. Perhaps they guide silently, nudging history along. Perhaps they merely observe, watching civilizations rise and fall like waves against the shore. Or perhaps they wait for the moment when humanity proves worthy or proves dangerous. The choice is not only collective, it is personal. Every person confronted with the idea must decide, is this truth? Is this myth? And if it is truth, how should life change? Philosophers once asked if gods create morality, or if morality exists beyond gods. The Anunnaki question revives this puzzle. Do we shape our destiny regardless of their presence, or do we exist as characters in a story not our own? The silence of ruins suggests a warning. Civilizations before us rose high, then crumbled. What if their choices were the wrong ones? What if serving led to slavery? What if resisting led to annihilation? What if cooperation dissolved into dependency? In the end, humanity's choice may define not only the future, but what it means to be human. The ability to question, the courage to choose, the acceptance of uncertainty. Perhaps that is the test the Anunnaki, if real, have been watching all along. As the night deepens, stars glimmer like ancient eyes, and humanity stands at the crossroads, surrounded by silence yet heavy with possibility. The camera drifts upward. Cities fade into a sea of night. Mountains, deserts, oceans dissolve into a dark sphere floating in space. Earth turns quietly, a fragile world under the vast silence of the stars. For all our myths, for all our telescopes, the universe does not answer. The Anunnaki remain a mystery, present, absent, or hidden. No voice breaks the silence. Only questions linger. Were the stories of Sumer truth disguised as myth? Were they memories of ancient visitors or allegories of human longing for the divine? Perhaps the gods never left, or perhaps they never existed at all, yet the silence itself is haunting. If they remain among us, their watch is patient. If they departed, their absence is profound. And if they never were, then humanity's imagination has created beings that rival gods, shaping destiny through belief alone. Look deeper into history. Ruins stand as testaments, ziggurats, pyramids, megaliths. Each stone whispers of effort, faith, and mystery. Were these monuments messages for the gods? Or were they messages from them, left for us to decipher? Meanwhile, science listens. Radio telescopes scan the skies. Probes drift beyond the planets. Yet the cosmos replies with nothing, just silence. And in that silence, myth grows. Perhaps that is the true gift of the Anunnaki. Not technology, not rule, but the question itself. Are we alone? If not, what does it mean to share this world or the universe with others? Odd stories endure. Whispers of hidden cities beneath deserts. Rumors of watchers cloaked in human skin. Symbols in architecture that seem to echo from ages long gone. No proof, no certainty, only fragments, but perhaps fragments are enough. They ignite wonder. They compel exploration. They remind humanity that history is not complete, that mystery still breathes. As the documentary closes, imagine the stars again. Imagine them as eyes, vast and unblinking, scattered across the night. Maybe they watch, maybe they wait, maybe they simply burn, indifferent to our questions. The silence of the stars leaves us with choice: to believe, to doubt, to search, to turn away. And perhaps that silence is not emptiness, but invitation. An open page waiting for humanity's answer. Whether gods walk among us, or only within our imagination, the mystery binds us to the cosmos. The journey does not end here. It lingers in the quiet, in the night, in the shadows of history. Because maybe, just maybe, the gods never left. And maybe, even now, they are still watching.